Lord, our true physician and healer, bring us aid in these troubled times. Heal all the sickness and affliction of your people. We place in your gentle heart the elderly, the frail, the disabled, the children, our families, the poor, the lonely, and those who are isolated. Walk with them, keep them strong. Give them patience and hope. For our brothers and sisters who are sick and suffering due to coronavirus, we pray that God's healing may rest upon them. Bless the health workers and all the others in the front lines. Protect them always. We place our trust in you, O Lord, who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Let us welcome the President of the Philippine Society of Pediatric Surgeons, Dr. Santiago Aquino.
Welcome to the fourth and final series of Dr. June Resurrection's webinar entitled Financial Management Options for Doctors. This is a relevant topic for all of us medical practitioners since there has already been an ongoing change in the lifestyles, priorities, and attitudes of our patients in general brought about by this pandemic. We hope to learn from the speaker today on how we can diversify our means of generating or augmenting our income and also manage our financial reserve. Once again, my heartfelt gratitude to our dynamic team who made this webinar possible. And thanks to those who have been with us for the past 3 series of this activity. To those who just recently joined us, welcome. I hope we will all enjoy listening at the same time learn something new again from our invited speakers. Thank you and good morning.
To introduce our speakers for today, here is Dr. Edric Lim.
Good morning. Welcome to the fourth and last of the PSPS June Resurrection webinar series. This morning, we have 4 speakers. Our first speaker is Ms. Edel Belleza. She graduated BS Biology in UP Manila. She is a US licensed neuro-linguistic programmer and is the PruLife UK branch manager. She is also the president and owner of Belleza BDT Life Insurance Agency Incorporated and is an associate wealth and estate planner, Center for Wealth Planning, Philippines. Our second speaker is Dr. Russel Alegarbes. He graduated Doctor of Medicine at Matthias Asnar Memorial College of Medicine. Had his residency in general surgery at UPPGH and also had his fellowship at UPPGH for pediatric surgery. He had further studies in pediatric surgery at NUH, Singapore. He is presently the training officer, Pediatric Surgery, Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center, and is affiliated with Asian Hospital Medical Center and National Children's Hospital. He is also the founder of RASMED Training Corporation. Our third speaker is Dr. Dexter Aison. He finished his medicine at FEU, Institute of Medicine, had his general surgery also at FEU, and had his fellowship in pediatric surgery at PCMC. He had further training at the National Children's Hospital in Vietnam for laparoscopic pediatric surgery. He is a master's in hospital administration at UP Manila, is an associate professor of FEU and UERM. He was a past president of the Philippine Society of Pediatric Surgeons. Currently, he is a regent of the Philippine College of Surgeons. Our fourth speaker is Dr. Elvis Bedia. He finished his medicine at University of Perpetual Help Jose Tamayo Medical Center, had his general surgery residency also at the same center. He has a master's in business administration and doctor of philosophy in business administration. He is the chairman, Department of Surgery, Santa Rosa Community Hospital, and is a founder of Santa Rosa Hospital and Medical Center, ACE Valenzuela, Global Hospital of Laguna, Unihealth Parañaque, and Unihealth Southwoods. He is the current corporate president, Santa Rosa Hospital and Medical Center. To moderate this morning is Dr. Rodolfo Bong Tuazon Jr. He finished his medicine at UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery, had his general surgery residency at Makati Medical Center, and a fellowship in pediatric surgery at UPPGH. Had further studies at NUH Singapore and Hanoi, Vietnam for laparoscopic and robotic surgery. He is the division head pediatric surgery at Asian Hospital, a board of trustees of Asian Hospital Professional Staff Association Incorporated, and is the treasurer and council member of the Philippine Society of Pediatric Surgeons. He is also president and CEO St. Michael's Dialysis Center and a co-owner of Jayu Bistro and Ramen Bar. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentations. If you have any questions, type it at the Q&A and make sure to direct your questions to the speakers you want them to be answered. You may also raise your hand so that you will be called for a live question. Just make sure you do not inadvertently raise your hand so that you will not be called. Thank you, good day, and good morning.
Let us welcome our first speaker, Ms. Edel Belleza.
Good morning, everyone. There you go. So it's a great privilege to be here with you this morning. Few weeks ago, I was approached by one of my valued mentors and my valued clients rather, and Dr. Russel Alegarbes, and I was very happy to accept the invitation. And right now, I'm very thrilled to be here with you this morning to share with you some of the valuable information that I really hope would help each and every one of you. So first off, doctors are very close to my heart. I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for 12 years. So I've been with two multinational companies, and that's the reason why this group of people are really close to my heart. And every day you encounter a lot of difficulties in terms of facing your clients, especially po right now with the pandemic that we are going through. There are a lot of challenges along the way, and whatever happens, nandun pa rin tayo, no? Para kayo pa rin po yung ating mga tinatawag na heroes who are there in front of these people facing different challenges and writing those prescriptions. And together with that very important role is your role to address all the needs and concerns of our health as Filipino citizens. And I'm part of that. I salute all our valued doctors, because we know that at the end of the day, you are heroes. So during my presentation, I would like to ask each and every one of us is, what if a prescription can guarantee your protection? So writing prescriptions is very close to your heart. And those prescriptions have saved lives. Those prescriptions have given a bright future to your patients, especially pediatric patients. And this is the reason why I entitled my presentation, Care in Crisis, Our Prescription for Your Protection. So during this pandemic, you are our heroes. You are our frontliners. And every day you go out to risk yourselves, to risk your lives, to address the needs of the Filipino citizens. And we know that it is not an easy job. So every day that you go out, you have those fears. Every day that you go out, you know that there's always a thin line that you need to really face. So with all those fears, with all the health risks that you are facing every day, you deserve actually the best protection. And not just the best protection for yourselves, but most importantly for your family. Because at the end of the day, para po ba kanino tayo bumabangon sa umaga?
Naglalag yung laptop ko.
So, together with the prescriptions that we are that you are giving out to your patients, you take care of the health of each and every Filipino citizen. Ang question po that I would like to challenge and to ask you this morning is, how are we healthy financially? No. In terms of taking care of the health of your patients, in terms of taking care of the health of the people around you, there's no question on that. But the question is, in terms of our financial health, ganun din po ba tayo kalakas? No? So now let's, if I may go through a very quick poll for us. No? So it's actually on your screens right now. I would like to probably give around 20 seconds for each of us to answer po, no? Yung poll na to, this is just like 3 questions on the poll. And I hope that you can answer it as honestly as you can, no? So these are the 3 questions. I hope you can see them on screen. So the first is, doctors are not your average Filipino. No? So doctors, they say, have higher IQs. You have studied for more than 15 years to become medical practitioners. According to the White Coat Investor column, of course, doctors are hardworking. You love studying. Tama po ba yun? No? So can you answer if it's truth or if it's a myth? No? And at the same time, the number 2 question is, since doctors have higher income, ang tanong daw po is, tama ba that doctors also have higher savings? Okay. And the third, doctors are adequately protected financially. Okay. So can we please find time to answer this very quickly? So Thank you so much po dun sa 46% who said that doctors are not your average Filipino. I agree with that as well, no? Hindi po biro yung pag-aaral na ginawa ninyo for the past several years. Meron din pong nagsabi that it's a myth, no? That doctors are not the average Filipinos. And number 2, doctors have higher income, thus have higher savings. So 12% po ang nagsasabing ito ay totoo, and 89% are saying that this is a myth. And number 3, quite surprisingly, doctors are adequately protected financially. 16% said it's true, and 85% said it's a myth. No? So let's go to our reality check. No? Kung makikita po natin dun sa results ng poll na yon, is majority have said that it's actually a myth. No? So let's go to the first reality check. Doctors are not your average Filipino. You have been working so hard. You have been studying so hard. 16 to 21 years, you are in the academe, getting the best education that you can receive. And at the same time, we realize that together with those late nights and long study hours, we also have that we have been able to realize, no, earnings late na, no, and at the same time you get to earn big during the latter part of your career. So reality is you're no different from the rest. You also have your families, you also have dreams, and you also have aspirations. The reason why you're working so hard is because of these very important people who are part of your lives. So, hindi po kakaiba ang isang doktor in terms of may sarili din siyang pamilya, nangangarap din siya, and meron din siyang mga hinahangad sa buhay. Okay. So, looking at the second reality check, we realize that doctors are not machines. At the end of the day, together with all those fears that you face every day, at any point during, especially po ngayon na sobrang dami ng challenges ngayong pandemic, we realize that you may also break down anytime. And the sad part is sometimes without any warning. No? We have seen, I'm sure you have seen a lot of patients. Hindi na po edad yung determining factor right now. As early as 18 years old, you see a lot of cases, and I'm sure you're a witness of that on a daily basis. And this is true. Hindi naman po tayo makina na hindi napapagod. And that is the reason why we really have to make sure, because at the end of the day, we are not vulnerable. No? Kung sana pwedeng umiwas ang sakit, no? If I can only hope that you as doctors are invulnerable and hindi po tatablan ng sakit para maraming patients ang mag-benefit, I would really, really do that. But the fact remains that you are not vulnerable. And you also have to earn because you have families to feed. You also have to save. And at the end of the day, you also have to be protected. So, lahat po tayo dumadaan sa prosesong ito. Whether you are a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, and whether you're an ordinary Filipino citizen. So our prescription, if you may want to accept our prescription, is to treat your finances as you would treat your health. You're very familiar with how important it is to treat your health. And when you have goals in terms of your diet, the first important that you need to do is you have to know what you want. No? Ano ba ang target mong weight? No? What's your target weight? Is it 10 pounds in 2 weeks, or is it 10 pounds in a month? No? The same as well with your financial goal. You have to know what you really want. What's your dream car? What's your dream house? Saan mo gustong magbakasyon? And picture your retirement as well. No? The second is you have to also understand why you want it. No? The same as well kung nagda-diet po tayo. No? Sino ba rito ang mga gustong maging healthy, di ba? So, bakit ba natin gustong maging healthy? Bakit ba natin gustong mag-lose weight? Is it because meron tayong upcoming event? Or is it because gusto lang natin na maging malakas tayo at makita pa natin ang ating mga apo? No? The same as well with our financial goal. Why do you really want to achieve that goal? Para saan ba? Bakit ba tayo gumigising sa umaga? Bakit ba natin gusto ng magandang bahay? Bakit po ba natin gusto ng magandang negosyo? No? So you have to make it clear and vivid in your minds why you really want it. And the third is know how much it will cost. If you are on a diet, you need to be on a different food na kailangan mong bilhin sa grocery, or do you have to enroll yourself in the gym? Do you have to be in a fitness program? No? So kailangan alam mo magkano yung gagastusin mo for you to be able to achieve that. Okay. And of course, in terms of your financial goal, if you have a dream house, if you have a dream vacation, how much is that? No? How much is the cost of that goal? And the fourth is know when you want it. Sabi nga nila, ang isang pangarap na walang timeline is just a dream, no? So it's very important that we know when you want to achieve that goal. So in terms of your diet, do you have an upcoming event na gusto mong magsuot ng magandang damit, no? Para magkasya yung damit na yon? Or in terms of your financial goal, it has to have a target date as well. No? When do you want to build that house? When do you want to get that car? When would you like to retire? No? So as they say, retirement is not dictated by age. It is dictated by the amount of money that you already have. So kailan yon? No? Kailan mo gustong ma-achieve yung goal na yon? And last but not the least is you need to strategize the how. No? So, hindi po natin gusto na mangarap lang. We need to make sure that we have everything laid down, and we need to know that we really have to take action dun sa strategies na yon. So you need to create a diet, you need to exercise and create that schedule, no? Kung kailan mo siya gagawin. The same as well with our financial goals. So you need to create a budget to manage your earnings. You need to make sure that every time you earn, you also save. So sabi nga po nila, it doesn't matter how much you earn. What matters most is how much you keep. No? At the end of the day, if you are earning that much, a certain percentage of your earnings should be put in your savings, should be put in a facility that will really grow your money. So, tama po yung sinagot natin kanina that it could be a myth that the higher we earn, the higher we save. Kasi most often than not, hindi ko naman po sinasabing lahat, but the higher that we earn, mas tumataas din po yung expenses. And that should not be the case. No? So we have to know our priorities. We have to make sure that dun sa financial goals natin, nakalatag po itong mga to. No? So know what you want, understand why you want it, when you want it, and you need to strategize the how. Okay. So it is not enough that we save. We have to learn how to grow our money. Kasi at the end of the day, kung savings lang po yung gagawin natin and hindi lumalago yung pera natin, dito po papasok yung sinasabi natin kanina na hindi tayo machine. Darating ang panahon, mapapagod tayo. Darating ang panahon, bigla na lang tayong hindi natin magagawa kung ano yung usual na nagagawa natin. And that is the reason why we have to really learn how to grow our money. So let me share you one very important concept, which is shared by Albert Einstein, and it is called the power of compounding interest. The power of compounding interest is actually the eighth wonder in the world. And this is the rule of 72, which says that if you divide 72 by the interest rate of anything, it will give you the number of years it will take for your money to double. No? So even pumunta po kayo ng bangko right now, hindi po ikukwento sa inyo itong rule of 72 or the power of compounding interest. According to Einstein, it's either you use it for you or you use it against you. So if, for example, you're putting your money in the bank, probably giving you around how much? 0.001%, no? So you could just imagine if you divide 72 by 0.001%, ilang years po bago dumoble yung pera. At the same time, looking at this illustration, if you divide 72, let's say you get a 4% interest rate out there. If you divide 72 by 4%, that will it will mean that it will take 18 years before your money will double. And if you find an 8% facility, 72 divided by 8, that will take 9 years for your money to double. And 72 divided by 12, it will take you 6 years for your money to double. So looking at this different individuals, wherein putting at different percentage or interest rates, mas lumalaki yung pera po nila, knowing how money works. No? So the difference between 400,000 at 4%, which is makukuha po at 65 years old, versus that of a 12% is 6 million. So ibig sabihin nun, yung 6 million na yun is equivalent to 20 years salary of a person na merong 300,000 or 25,000 per month na income. So you could just imagine if we don't know the rule of 72 at inaasa lang po natin sa bangko yung pera natin, hindi na po natin maaabutan yung panahon na dodoble yung pera natin. Okay? So looking at our prescriptions, looking at the financial prescriptions that we have available, people would first go to time deposits. No? So wala naman pong problems sa time deposits because it's withdrawable at any time. No? After a certain period, you can withdraw your money in the bank. It's guaranteed returns. And at the same time, we know that lesser yung interest that we can get from these time deposits. It's readily available for emergencies. So these time deposits are meant for emergencies. Another option would be putting our money in a mutual fund, which is meant for medium to long term. The problem is we cannot guarantee the returns, And there's a possible high return, and at the same time, there's a possibility na maglaho po yung pera natin. So it's not advisable in terms of short-term emergencies because it will take time before mag-grow yung money natin. Most common that we know is investing our money in the real estate. This is actually a good facility because when you invest long-term, real estate really gives huge amount of returns. The key is, hindi po siya ganun kadali. And especially if we are in an emergency, hindi rin siya ganun kadali na i-liquidate. Another facility would be owning a business. So if we are very interested in putting up a business, kailangan po yung interest natin, yung marketing strategies natin, nandun lahat. Because there's a possibility of bankruptcy if ever na hindi natin yon, hindi siya mag-click. And at the same time, it could give us high returns along the way. Ang negosyo nga lang po, if sinimula natin yung negosyo na yon, in terms of emergencies, we can never rely on those as well. Kasi kailangan pa natin siyang ibenta. Okay. Another facility would be to put our money in the stocks. There's a possibility of either no returns to very high returns over a long period of time. It requires courage from the investor. Kung hindi po tayo adept in terms of trading in the stock market, it will be a really true gamble. No? And it's not advisable as well in terms of emergencies. Last but not the least would be the variable life insurance or the variable unit linked, which accumulates funds over time. And at the same time, it also provides protection in cases of uncertain death, in terms of critical illness, and at the same time, disabilities. No? So another facility that probably some of us have heard already is what we call the buy term, invest the difference. No? So sinasabi ng iba, I'd rather just buy the term and invest the difference. The key is, if we look into this option, it requires high technical skills in terms of financial instruments. Kung ano po yung maganda, no, na pag-i-investan natin, kailangan marunong tayo sa stock market. And when the term of insurance expires, kailangan yung protection is equivalent na dun sa nilago ng pera natin. But the question is, what if hindi pa? No? Mawawalan tayo ng protection dun sa time na kakailanganin na natin siya. And one of my mentors have mentioned that usually, or most often than not, this buy term invest the difference ultimately becomes buy term eat the difference, because when there is lack of discipline in actively investing. No. So in terms of another financial prescription, the variable unit linked life insurance do not require technical skills in terms of financial instruments, because there's a financial expert who can manage it for you. We have fund managers who can invest the money in blue chip companies, and protection is assured as your investment grows. No? So sabay-sabay po na nag-grow yung ating investment, and at the same time, we have guaranteed protection. And it requires consistency in terms of paying yourself first. At the end of the day, as frontliners, as heroes, it's important po na unahin natin ang sarili natin. No? Whatever we're doing for our family, tayo po ang inaasahan nila. And it's most important that we really help our family in terms of paying ourselves first to make sure that we are adequately protected. Okay? So when it comes to investment, we need to have a long-term mindset. Okay? That means we really need time. But the question is, what if we run out of time? No? So running out of time happens when a disability happens. No? What if we're suddenly diagnosed of a critical illness? So alam po natin yan. Karamihan po ng mga patients na kinakaharap ninyo is hindi naman nila yon inaasahan. No? I actually have a friend who's 36 years old. As early as 36 years old, she was diagnosed of acute myeloid leukemia. And all of a sudden, all her savings, lahat po naubos, because she needed around 2 to 5 million for that bone marrow transplant. Another that might happen is, what if we're suddenly taken out of the picture? Lahat ng pinagharapan natin para sa pamilya natin, the question is, kumusta po ang magiging family natin if ever something happens along the way? So it is not enough that we save. We have to save and at the same time get adequately protected. So let me introduce to you one of the elite protection and investment options that you can have, which does not require technical skills. It's managed by financial experts, and at the same time, your protection is guaranteed as you have your investments growing at the same time. So why elite? Because getting the maximum protection, okay, gives you better cure. No, better prevention is better than cure. So alam po natin that if you get yourselves protected with this elite program, you get coverage equivalent to the amount of money that you're saving, and even more than that. No? So there's a 5-year, 7, 10, and 15-year program wherein, depending on how many years you'd like to save, that will give you the maximum protection, which will give you peace of mind if ever something happens along the way. And this, the longer the payment terms that you give, the larger your coverage will be. And it will also give you the potential to grow your money. So the fund manager that we have is East Spring Investments. It's actually managing more than 900 blue chip companies. So you can actually get the choice on either putting it in a bonds or stock market facility. The difference po is that you won't have to stay awake all day just to make sure that your funds won't dissolve, because the experts will do the fund management for you. You have greater potential for wealth accumulation because first year, you have around 70% growing already in your funds. So there's a priority for much wealth accumulation because higher fund allocation, and it increases year after year. There's also an option to enhance your plan through the different additions that you can put in your program. At the end of the day, it's very important that you need to make sure that you're adequately protected. You need to make sure that there's protection. The reason why, as a financial consultant, this has been close to my heart, because when I was starting 7 years back, I have a friend doctor who approached me and told me that when she was hospitalized, she still needed a big chunk of amount to shoulder all the expenses that she has incurred. And that brought me to the realization that you as doctors are really not vulnerable, are still vulnerable. Dun ko po na-realize, kasi when I was starting, I thought hindi ko na kailangan na matulungan yung mga doctors, kasi I thought that since you have higher income, therefore you have higher savings. But at the end of the day, I realized that my friend doctors also need financial planning advice. And that is the reason why we as your financial planners are here to help. Because at the end of the day, you need protection if ever uncertainties happen along the way. And especially during this pandemic, realizing how vulnerable life is, how vulnerable we all are. These elite protection and investment programs can really help us in terms of uncertainties of critical illness, in terms of shouldering those hospital expense. This is a solution that can also be helpful to each and every one of us. It's actually very flexible because depending on how many years you'd like to save, you can actually save for 5, 7, 10, or 15 years. It will give you the equivalent amount or even more, because since we have an investment facility where you can grow your money and at the same time make sure that you're adequately protected, malaki po ang maitutulong that these facilities can help grow your money. So this is my last slide. There's no need to self-medicate. Alam ko po that as doctors, ayaw natin na nagsa-self-medicate yung mga patients natin, because as experts, you know what is best for them. As experts, you know what will cure them. And at the end of the day, in terms of our finances, this is also my advice. There's no need to self-medicate. Let us take care of your financial health like you would take care of ours. So I hope that with this very short presentation, I was able to give you somehow insights on how to better manage your finances, and at the same time, how to better find facilities where you can be growing your money and at the same time protecting yourselves adequately. So once again, my name is Edel Belleza. I'm from PruLife UK and I'm a branch manager. I'm an associate wealth and estate planner, and I've put up my own general agency to make sure that all my financial consultants will be serving the Filipino citizens and making sure that at the end of the day, I always tell my financial consultants to always look at the mission. At the end of the day, we are not selling you products. What we are selling you is the peace of mind that you can get as you give ample protection for the families whom you love. What we are selling is dignity, that if ever uncertainties happen along the way, you won't have to borrow from your friends. You won't have to post your situation on Facebook. You won't have to withdraw whatever money that you have in the bank because you know that you have prepared for that uncertainty. And what we're selling is peace of mind, knowing that your families will be well taken care of. And if you would be willing to continue to get advice from us, we will be here to help you achieve your financial goals. So our company is PruLife UK. We've been here for 22 years already. Globally, we've been here for 170 plus years. Our fund manager is East Spring Investments. We're the #1 in Asia. And we are also the one handling Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So in terms of our expertise, we will be here to support you and help you in terms of achieving your financial goals. Once again, thank you very much and good morning.
Let us welcome our next speaker, Dr. Russel Alegarbes.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. The PSPS Webinar Committee came up with a survey intended for the members of the Philippine Pediatric Surgery. This presentation will show us the demographics of our respondents, their experiences with COVID, its impact on their private practice, and know the different responses, the strategies that they were able to sustain financially. So then we might be able to gather their sentiments on the supports that they did during this crisis. The second portion of my presentation is my way of coping up with the crisis and financially, sustain myself. And how my company cope up with business during this time. So the survey started launching it September 2 for 6 days, and our respondents, the fellows of the PSPS, we used the format, a question format, and we launched it with a Viber group and FB Messenger group. Of course, consent was secured. The participants have the option not to proceed with if they deem the questions are too personal, and we made sure that the data and the identifiers were not actually there. Out of 64 fellows in the society, we had 53 respondents. That's 83%. Majority of our respondents are actually female, 60%, and 72% are married. The age distribution, we had 30% of the respondents were actually millennials, 31 to 40 years of age. And next to that, the ages between 41 to 50, we call Generation X. And the baby boomers, we have 17%, ages 61 to 70. So years in practice, the fellows who had 10 years or less were actually 60%, and half of those were actually less than 5% in years in practice. Three-quarters of them have their practice in the provincial cities, and only 29% or a third of the respondents had their practice in Metro Manila area. The respondents, when asked about their affiliated hospitals, their item, majority of the items actually they have a part-time position, and there were respondents who answered. 14% of those respondents answered they practice in a private hospital only, and their primary source of income is the professional fees from private practice. The number of hospital affiliations wherein they have active consultant status, meaning they have a clinic, they answered, most of them answered less than 3. And the number of clinics before COVID, those who less than 3 clinics were 84, and it went up to 94% during the COVID. As you can see there, the respondents who have more than 5 clinics, they probably closed their some of their clinics. The reason why it became only 2%. So when asked about other sources or source of income, majority of the respondents answered mutual funds, stocks, bonds. So I lump it in the dividends, that's 34%. And other the second actually they mentioned about real estate. So they lump into condominium rental, apartments. And the third one, 14%, business operations. So the breakdowns for business operations, other respondent mentioned about putting up, franchise business, poultry, dialysis, restaurant, and laundry businesses. So, unsurprised, there were 4% of the respondents actually cryptocurrency. So no specific as to is this a Bitcoin or any alternative coin like altcoin like Ethereum or others are doing it as a trading, So and then unsurprising, there were 21% of those answered none. Actually, they put none. So when you ask about other source of income, they put none. The respondents were somewhat worried, 55% of them, and their volume of patients significantly decreased by about 50. They answered 51. The respondents answered about 51% of them. They and financially they were affected. So when they ask about are they practicing online consult, only 15% of them the substantially they practice online or teleconsult in a form of paid subscription like Serious MD. So and there were 2% who totally switched to online consult. So when asked if what resources to support that they need at this time, majority, 63% of the respondents answered PPE is the number one. And probably let me put E95 or the PAPR. And then the second to that, 57% physician well-being support program. So workshops, family counseling, okay? And then actions they took to cope up with COVID-19 financially. They reduced, 57 of the respondents answered they reduced clinic staff hours, and the number of, they are very selective in the type of procedures, or they select on the referrals. So, and then some of them, they used up their personal savings to augment their income. So in summary, the survey was able to show us the overview of the private practice of our fellows, and um, you're able to how they're able to protect them to protect themselves financially and sustain financially. So, and also they'll tell us that the young demographics of the fellows in PSPS, and that the revenue that they derive from private practice is the main source of income. So I will the second portion of my topic is uh, why I was chosen to uh, present in this webinar series. So my experience um, during after I finished my internship in PGS, I went back to Cebu and doing moonlighting in Bohol and the area and hospitals in Cebu and Bohol. So in my experience, I was able to assist one orthopedic consultant, and I noticed that when he tried to put a plaster cast on the external fixator, I noticed the poor quality of the plaster cast. It took some time to dry up. So I said there must be other supplier that can provide us, including the elbow splint, the knee splint. So I managed to source one from Angeles, Pampanga, and I made a deal with them. I made a contract that I can supply. I can 70%. I can supply the product in Visayas and Mindanao. So I was able to put up one in Cebu, and I managed to distribute it around the Visayas from the area. So I was lucky to have my brothers working in the shipping industry, and managed to deliver to Ormoc, Dumaguete, Iligan, Cagayan, in the hospitals and pharmacy. The business is doing good but after a year, I decided to pursue general surgery training. So I have to leave my business with my family. And come during my newspaper stand, you can see number 2. During my general surgery residency years, I happened to meet an old lady who's actually selling newspaper, and I found out that on the newspaper truck would drop the newspaper her supply for that day every 4 in the morning. But the catch is you have to shell out a bond amounting to 10,000 pesos as a protection. So I made my study. I studied it, and I found out the heavy foot traffic along Pedro Hill and the entrance exit of Robinson's Mall. So I started initially 2, and then right in the middle of the year, I put up one inside in PGH Cooperative. So for a year, it's giving me a little bit of amount of money, and also helping my newspaper boys. And then I tried to scale up the business. As I was living in Makati area, I tried to offer it to the hotels and condominiums in Makati. But the catch is I have to offer them that that's difficult for them to refuse. Meaning, if they can make contract with me that I'll be the one to supply them the newspaper, I have that they have a 2 pesos and 50 centavos off their inquiry and Manila Bulletin. But the catch is I have to get that 3 months ahead of payment. So So I have to supply them, but they have to pay me 3 months in advance for them to get the 2 pesos and 50 centavos off. The only problem with this newspapers and this is that you have to you are not in control with your newspaper boys, because the drop off point you have to be there by 4 o'clock. If one of your boys will fail to be around during 4 a.m. drop off, and then you fail to you miss your newspaper, and then it's a big headache to explain to the hotels and condominiums. So, but I found a way to not. I found a way, strategy wherein if one or two will be late, so one has to be there. So I found a drop-off point there in the three of them has to be there. So if one gets late, then he can just go to the other newspaper stand and pick up the supply of newspaper for that day. So, but after doing a business, online newspapers caught up with it, and the demand actually became less. So I closed shops. And then the Pumps Pharma business, the third one, when I was living in Makati, I opened up one pharma supply company in Guadalupe Viejo area. Especially caters to home for the private home for the elderly, wherein um, elderly people actually have a lot of maintenance medication. So I told the managers of the elderly homes that I can supply their medication for a discount and free delivery charge. So um, I, 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 I was able to, the business was good, ROI was there. I mean, the only problem with pharma companies is that you have the cost of maintaining the overhead cost of the rentals, and of course you have to pay your pharmacist. So it's just not viable anymore. So I have to give up. So after doing my fellowship in abroad, when I came back, I had to relocate my business from Cebu to Laguna. So but I renamed it to Rasbit Hospital Gas Supplies. Now, presently, still supplying the south of Luzon, Batangas area. And next is the trading, Alegarbes trading. I happen to know a person who was not able to meet the demand of the rice supplying the industrial companies in Lipa and Laguna. The demand for rice is actually quite high because they use it as the benefits of their employees. And usually the peak of the demand goes up during holidays. And I managed to source it from Mindoro and Ibaisiha. So still, the business is still doing. The purified tube ice plant came into being because when I passed by Pansol, this is in Pansol, Pansol, Las Baños. I happened to pass by several sari-sari store along the area, and I happened to notice that a lot of ice box or ice tube ice were sold along the banqueta. And you can see when you try to inspect, it's not really hygienic and was placed in a plastic. So I said, I did my studies and I found out that the supplier, the ice plant, is actually more than 30 kilometers away from the area. So there are two suppliers. So what if I will put one just right in the middle of a hot spring, Pansol area? I managed to get a property and refurbish it and make it clean as possible. So it was operating only that just before the COVID, I sold that business to a retiree. The last three companies that I'm connected with, I'll show it to you in a video. So this Luminaire is actually a group of Filipino scientists, brilliant scientists who are connected in large tech company in Singapore, and they want to help by designing and creating an equipment, an instrument for us doctors. So I will show you it in a video. So the these friends of mine who are connected with a large tech company in Singapore, so have I partnered with them, and this is how it works. It is not just a UV light, but there's a filter, HEPA filter, combination UV light and filter, and easy to install. So so here the three innovators um, doing a product demo to hoteliers, Malaysian hoteliers in the area. So this is all the permits, the health safety actually taken care of, and regards to importation permits in the Philippines, also were was taken care of. It's already taken care of. The other company that I'm connected with is Maya Midwest Solutions. Um, I will show it to you in a short video.
Community at large to infection and injuries and risks polluting the environment. And with the global pandemic threatening mankind now becoming inevitable, it is critical that healthcare establishments establish strict medical waste management at all times. Introducing the Pyroclay, a medical waste solution developed, manufactured, and exclusively distributed by Rad Green Solutions. The Pyroclay is the best thermal, non-incineration solution currently available in the market today. The Pyroclay Optima utilizes hands-free loading of the bin to the loading chamber for shredding. This is to ensure safe distance between the operator and the loading chamber. Wastes are then automatically loaded to the loading chamber for shredding. The Pyroclay is equipped with industrial, heavy-duty, double-shaft shredders to ensure optimum shredding performance at all times. The airlock mechanism allows the system to maintain the ideal pressure inside the chamber. The thermal chamber operates with no direct contact of the medical waste and the fire during operations, utilizing heat convection and conduction for its thermal disinfection methods. The medical waste continuously travel within the thermal chamber for proper treatment before going to the cooling chamber. The cooling chamber ensures that the waste is cooled down before it exits the process. The Pyroclay has higher processing volume at 150 to 200 kilograms per hour, depending on the type of waste. It is energy efficient at 30 kilowatt rated power. Since everything is automated, the operation can utilize minimal manpower to operate the system. The final output of the Pyroclay is dry, shredded, and unrecognizable, ready for safe disposal.
So this is the transporter. It's a transporter, and this is the byproduct. So this is in Valenzuela, and this is the machine. We started operating last April 2018, and this one is in Davao region. As you can see, with the DOH inspecting. So far, as of now, there are 8 installations in the Philippines, and recently, because of this news that broke out, as you can see, the hospital waste is actually flushed along the coastal city in one of the coastal city in the Visayas, in Cebu, and right now we managed to acquire a property 2 towns away from the city of Cebu, because they have a problem with the waste, this hazardous waste disposal. They closed their landfill, so they have a problem. Some of the waste, hospital infectious waste, are actually placed in a container and shipped from Cebu to Manila. So it's really time for us to put one there. And this is a Google image of one near Bay Laguna area. And the picture here on the left side, if you go there, this is the site. This is a modified landfill site. And we managed to acquire a piece of property just right next to it. And hopefully we can also help them manage their waste, the area. So there's only 8 among the how many big cities in the Philippines. and I'm sure there'll be others who are willing to help us in not just partners with us if they think, and I'm sure the waste in their hospitals in their area is actually having problems. I mean, to cope up with this amount, the volume of waste because of COVID, we can partner with them, and uh, they can set up. We can put a setup wherein if they have problem with their funds, then we can put one for free. It's only that we will manage it, maintain it, or they will try to convince their local government to purchase one, and we are very happy to go there and inspect first the area and secure all the permits uh, and thank you. That's it for today's webinar. Thank you so much.
And now for our third speaker, Dr. Dexter Aison.
I am tasked to share to you some business plans and ideas, perhaps, that I underwent for the past 12 years in my life. And I would like to say good morning first. And the title of this talk is Mind Another Business. And please take note that our majority of us, our audience are doctors, and it is not my intention at all to consider what we're actually normally doing as in our profession as a business. But rather, I would like to have an objective to make us realize, to consider and dwell on another thing to do, which is an actual business itself. I have no disclosure except for partial disclosures of my businesses as we go through. In our profession as physician, the long years spent on developing ourselves as doctors are actually investments to make ourselves competitive with changing times. Of course, not all of us, not all to our colleagues, and not to be competitive to our colleagues and other doctors, but rather to the different things that happens in our lives as a doctor. But at this point, have you realized that the product of these investments, the long-term investments that we have been doing as doctors, are actually non-transferable? In our profession as physicians, the long years spent on developing ourselves as doctors are actually our investments to make ourselves competitive with the changing times. Of course, not all of us. Of course, the competition is not to our colleagues, and also our other doctors, but must be considered the changing times. But at this point, have you realized that the product of these investments are actually non-transferable? You cannot pass it on to someone else, to your family. You cannot have them inherit it when you are gone. My name is Dexter Aison. I am a pediatric surgeon. I have invested 35 years of my life since the start of my medical schooling to become what I am now. And looking back, such a long, hard, and difficult period of time to be who this surgeon is as an investment. Sometime decades ago, several experiences of mine brought me to a very important realization. A question came into my mind: can I pass this on to my family, what I'm doing right now? This product of this long 35 years of becoming a pediatric surgeon. To my family, I cannot. To my children, I'm sure I cannot as well. One unforgettable experience that made me realize this was the early morning of Father's Day, the year 2014, when a very good friend of ours a colleague in pediatric surgery, suddenly met a very serious illness in his prime years. He's a good friend, kasama ko sa training and sa practice, and he just left me, left us. He's still alive, and but I can still relate to him, but he cannot relate to me. A very recent one, again, another experience, another event in March 31 of this COVID crisis, another good friend whom we offer this webinar series to has left, and has left his family as well, his children. So I decided to mind another business along the way. I became a part-time professional launderer. Okay. So that is who I am, not just as a pediatric surgeon. Most of us are interchangeably using business and entrepreneurship, the two words, but actually there's a difference between the two. The definition of a businessman would be a person who runs the business, an undertaking of an unoriginal kind of idea. On the other hand, an entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur is someone who first initiates a product or a business idea and thus the leader of that in the market. And in the long run, an entrepreneur becomes a businessman. But there is, as I told you, a difference. Higher yung form ng entrepreneurship. I have not reached that part yet, entrepreneurship. I hope I would be able to do and reach that level. While brainstorming on what to do after deciding to mind another business, the following might come into ideas might come into your mind. Am I supposed to create a product or a service? Am I supposed to use my skills? What are the gaps in the market? I do have some hobbies. Can I turn it into a business? Shall I take a franchise of what is being offered locally? Shall I buy an existing business? These are all ideas that you can come up with as you go through the journey of having your own business. But first, make sure that you have decided on what you would have to offer to the market. Is it product or is it service that you would want to do? I would like you to be guided by, kasi needs of the market is the one that we're answering. So we must be guided by the human basic needs. Would my business entail with food, water, clothing, shelter? And later on, another human basic needs which cropped up just recently, good health, clean air, communication. Shall I deal with communication? So we'll go through it as we discussed, as we go through the lecture slowly. The framework of a business would be this. It starts with an idea and ends with location. As mentioned earlier, as we go through the lecture, we will go through this in details one by one. But nevertheless, I'd like to emphasize that in the idea, you must take into consideration ownership. Importante ito kasi this is one pitfall in business establishments or establishing business because pag nag-away-away, di patay yung business. So you have to take note of ownership very well at the start. Another is, what is your interest or passion? I placed it as highlighted it as red because it's supposed to be a fervent interest and passion. Take a look also on the last two, the penultimate stage, finance. Please don't take it into consideration at once, because more often than not, your answer will be, I will not be able to afford the business, and you will stop the idea of putting up that business. Put it in the last stage in the planning, so that you will go through the different framework of business ideas. These are the types of ownership, business ownership that you can get into. Sole proprietorship, individual yan, so nakapangalan sa'yo. Legally, BIR, sa'yo lahat and everything. Kasi, and as a doctor, you wouldn't want the business to mix with your income. Tataas siya sa BIR, so malabo. And then, posibleng pag nalugi, kasama pati yung earnings mo sa iyong profession. So I do not advise, if you have a business, to have it a sole proprietorship. Partnership. A lot of us might go into a business with another friend, just like my good friend, Dr. Bong, Tuazon. He had some businesses with friends. But make sure that your friends and your partners are really long-term partners and long-term friends, because at any time that you will have to unfriend them, paano na lang yung business nyo, right? So you're left with another, the more stable one, which is a company ownership. In my case, I was able to establish a company. Actually, the stockholders are registered in Sept, and the stockholders are my own family. So, yun yung story ako. Interest, okay? Just to share to you, one of the things I got interested with in putting up a business is laundry business. It's not the ordinary full-service laundry, but rather the upcoming then, about 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, the self-service laundry. My wife and I had some interest with the laundry, because in the household, we always make sure that we have clean clothes to wear, something that is not as bad smelling, because it represents us when we go out. No? So not just the looks, but also the cleanliness and its fragrance or its scent. So my wife and I wanted to get into the laundry self-service business. So at that time, parang halos primary pa lang kami noon eh. About 4 or 5 years ago, our strongest competitor was Quick Clean. Sorry for saying that. And they have branched out to franchises already. Anyway, so we made some investigations on the different kinds of machines. We found out there are several. Please take note that in this particular business, we would like to offer service, and it's nothing personnel. Too much personnel is not needed. So it came out to these kinds of branches that we have right now, and my biggest is a 10 units branch of self-service laundry machines. The next thing that you have to consider is legal documentation, mostly for basically the government requirements. You have to take care of your DTIs. If you're a company, your Securities and Exchange Commission, documentation. BIR, of course, is very important. LGU, you'll have to secure your own mayor's permit and as well as barangay permission of your branches, of your offices. This stage is very important because this is your market. You must be able to focus on what kind of market you would want to get into. What's your clientele? Who are your customers going to be? In my case, in the laundry, self-service laundry business, we felt that our clientele would be focused on students who go on dorming, or students who would require to wear always clean clothes and perhaps white clothes. And that's why we focused on the medical students of different medical schools in Metro Manila. Where do they buy? So we try to study them. Where do they acquire the service from? So most of them acquire the service from yung bang manang all around. And the sad part about it, they are not sure whether their clothes will be mixed with some other clothes. So yun yung concern nila. And then why do they acquire such service? Kasi may delivery. Okay, the laundry clothes that they would want to will be taken and will be delivered to them as fresh. When do they acquire? Of course, we were able to study that they usually do it once a week. And then more importantly, why should they need my business instead, or services instead? So just for you to understand how we went through it, because number one, they often miss their or lose their clothes in the manang type of laundry. They do not know whether their clothes are mixed with some others' clothes. They are not satisfied with the cleanliness, and therefore we should offer such kinds, because in particular mixing of clothes, ikaw ang maggagawa ng laundry. It'll take you only about an hour and a half, the most, for your laundry chores to be done, and that's the whole week of laundry already, what you wore for the whole entire week. So things like those were taken into consideration and investigated on. Suppliers in our own, very important yan. I'm sure Bong knows this. In the restaurant business, you have to have suppliers for your eggs, for your cooking oil, and your marketing raw materials. In my kind of business, particularly the laundry, self-service laundry, we spent a little more time for our machines. We really investigated the right machine that we have to use. At the time, we had 2 Americans and 1 Korean. So medyo clue na yun. We used the Korean brand because it would be more appropriate for our needs. And of course, you have to know whether or not these are serviceable. Remember, my business, particularly the self-service laundry, is very much dependent on the machines, machine operated. I do not have much personnel to do it. So it's you who's going to do the laundering, and therefore it's highly advised that in service kinds of business, particularly machine service business, you take a look and spend more time in choosing the right kind of machines that will serve your clientele. Equipment and facility, as mentioned earlier, and personal need also be taken into consideration in this particular stage. The penultimate is the capital or the finance. As mentioned, do not consider this yet at the start, because as mentioned earlier, you'd probably be saying, no, I will not enter business when you talk about this at the start, because you do not have much capital outlay in finance. So you look at it after everything has been planned. And I'd like to tell you that it is very important in all kinds of business. It's the lifeblood, and it's very essential. But I'd like to open you to the world of loans for capital requirement. This would entail some mathematics on how you would be able to pay such loan with the start of your business. So, mind you, most businesses are loaned, the capital of which are loaned. Okay? So there's such a thing as loan to fulfill your capital requirements. Don't be shy on it. A lot of, even the government gives loans for small to medium kinds of business, as well as your private banks. The last would be location. When starting a business, location is a very important factor to focus on. Make sure that you will choose the right location of where you will offer to your clientele and your market your particular product or your particular service. I would like to share to you one case analysis that I made while I was waiting for some raw materials for my constructions. I was waiting in the construction area for the release of my raw materials here, and I was able to notice this man bringing along 5 or 6 pile product, which is basically lumpia, fried lumpia. And I was interested and curious on how he was going to do it. So he sat down in front of this establishment. It's actually a warehouse where a good 50 or 60 personnel would have to have their merienda. It was around 9 o'clock in the morning. So as soon as he came in around 9:30, people came out of the warehouse, and on the right picture, got all the lumpia. In about 15 minutes, it's done deal. Everything was finished. All the lumpia that he had earlier, 15 minutes ago, was very much consumed. So I tried interviewing this man, finding out anong klaseng anong tawag dito, plano siya. With the simple business of lumpia, that's his only offer. So actually, he knows how to make a good lumpia. I did not taste it, but he said he knows how to make it. And in this time of pandemic, he lost his job, his regular job, and he made his lumpia business. And then tried to study on the market. Lumpia is eaten as a merienda, the cheapest form of food for merienda. And he tried to, in the locality, he tried to find out warehouses where you have a lot of employees that would eat their merienda outside, one of which is this aluminum warehouse. So each and every day, he would take turns, okay, at 9 o'clock, pupunta siya sa mga warehouses na yon. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng every week o every day lumpia ang kakainin ng clientele. No? So, ginawa niya, pinag-aralan niya yung mga different warehouses in the vicinity, and during that time, 9:15, he would deliver the lumpia, and then in 15 minutes, everything is done. And he gets to sell everything. In other words, in the business, parang, ano tawag dito? Parang sold out, no? And then, tapos na. Kung car barn ka na sa taxi, okay? Pwede ka nang magpahinga. And that's what he does for the past pandemic days. No? And that's why I wanted to share to you, because magaling yung kanyang analysis sa market niya, yung feasibility and location. Finally, I would like you to understand that in any business, there should be some innovations and modification. You should be able to continually research and develop the business that you have established. Perhaps do some expansion for another product, another location or branches. That's what we're doing right now, my wife and I. Going back to the continuing research and development, you have to find out what kind of, in the laundry business, what kind of detergent to use, what kind of conditioners to use. So those are the things that you'd have to research on in self-service laundry. Possible outsourcing of products that would be entailed in your business is, in order to bring down the cost, is one innovation and modification. Branch out to related other business. In the self-service laundry, we wanted to branch out earlier, okay, before the COVID na natigil lang. Kami na magsusupply nung machines. I would go directly to Korea and then file some sort of exclusivity, part-time exclusivity, and then we would create the system for you, the laundry, self-service laundry system. We went into that. I have another business that would have those personnel, the carpenters and so on. So we were ready to get and launch it in putting up other laundry systems, self-service laundry systems for other people. Medyo na COVID lang kaya hindi natuloy. And we just went into the branching out of the self-service laundry. Now, as mentioned earlier, business is different from entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is a very high form of business idea because it will entail some originality, just like these people, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Jack Ma. Jack Ma, just recent lang yon, no? On online trading. And you see, Alibaba has really tremendously created a different kind of trading worldwide, and which made Alibaba a success, as well as the founder, which is Jack Ma. In my particular case, my role model for business ever since is Steve Jobs. All my equipments, my gadgets were Apple at that time. I believe in the man. By the way, I read his life story, and there were lots of innovations in computer and cell phone and music as well that he started, or he innovated. Even your mouse, computer mouse, was I discovered reading his life, was discovered by this man. It just so happens that he died a few years ago, and we don't have much of his inventions anymore. But he has been my role model ever since, because in his life he always dreams and put it into action. And this is what he does, and this is what he gives us for everybody to perhaps ponder on. If you can dream it, you can do it. And he points a finger on you that if you can dream of it, you can do it. I'm as well telling you, you can do it if you can dream it. Thank you. Salamat po sa inyo. Before going into that, I make a short introduction to our next speaker. He's a good friend of mine. Sometime in the 90s, mid-90s, I got to meet him in Laguna. I was practicing in Laguna, and we both went into hospital construction and management. We did our own share of putting up our government hospital where my family comes from and his family comes from, which is Binyan, Laguna. And that was establishment of Hospital ng Binyan, a city hospital for our kababayans in Binyan, Laguna. And he will share to you our experience. Okay, what actually I do not have any more continuation of that experience on hospital construction and management. Thank you.
Let us now welcome our final speaker, Dr. Elvis Bedia.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank the Philippine Society of Pediatric Surgeons, and of course, to thank you, Frankie. I'm so proud and I'm excited to talk about the financial management option for doctors. Of course, dealing with my two friends here, Dr. Alegarbes and Dr. Dexter Aison, who themselves are also doctors. So let me go on my topic. It is on the doctorpreneurs during and post-pandemic era. Doctorpreneurs because doctors also are entrepreneurs, and doctors sees some possible revenue and scenario if you are dealing with the healthcare. If you want to go on business and you're a private practitioner or even a government practitioner and you want to go into business, we are not natural businessman or businesswoman. So the best for us thing is to go into franchising. You franchise and establish business, or you can do a single proprietorship. Learn the business, start small, and then nourish until it becomes big. Or you may buy or join any existing business which has already been established and known for their track record. Or you may join a bigger corporation and allow the corporation to handle your business, or join them in doing the business in your area. So with the COVID era that we are having right now, there are only two industries that may survive. One is health, because the economy of the Philippines, especially here in the Philippines, the economy is actually dependent on our health status. So they have to improve on the health. Actually, this is one of the suggestions to the government to improve the health status of the Philippines so that we can have a very good economy. We can send our people abroad, or they can stay here and further improve on our health as well as economy. And the other one is, of course, the internet-based product selling or service provision, which is very rampant right now. So ordering online, servicing again, and of course, delivery through the internet. This is the best example of this internet-based product selling. However, if you're a physician in the current market, you might as well avoid spending right now. Because again, as I said, we are not sure on the future of the current era. We might be on the start of the pandemic, and later on this will be a long pandemic era. And I think further spending would be not twice at this time. Or you may watch and wait. The economy is volatile. In fact, for the last 3 months, there is a dip of about 6% in our economy. So if you don't know how to do the business, just watch and wait, and let's see what will happen later on. But this pandemic may not go away, or probably there is another pandemic that may happen, even though the present pandemic is not over yet. So what shall we do? Nobody would like to invest due to uncertainty, but I believe we have to move on. And this is our saying that there is always a great opportunity in every crisis, just like now. For the doctors, there are financial opportunities for health system amidst this COVID-19. And of course, the virtual care, which is very obvious right now. A lot of us are providing healthcare through telemedicine. You can go with that and restart your practice and connect again with your provider, your clients, your patient, and other stakeholder of healthcare. The PDP planning is a good opportunity. Everybody has to be liquid. Everybody shall have the cash to buy anything. For the hospital as well as for the doctors. The liquidity is the name of the game. You have to be liquid to buy the very expensive PPEs, the very expensive remdesivir, the very expensive tocilizumab. I think smaller player in the healthcare will not be able to afford including this in their pharmacy, but for a bigger hospital, if you're big, you can buy all of this and provide a better care and truly accessible healthcare for our population. The partnership merger is very good for health establishment. The bigger hospital may go on partnership or merging with the community hospital or smaller clinic or smaller hospital, and it could be aligning in. So how do we do financial work on this? The hospital is not a conducive place for the patient to stay. In fact, only 27%, that is our latest survey done in the US, only 27% seek consultation in the hospital, and most of them seek consultation in the clinic away from the hospital. So that's about 72%. So you might as well have a clinic outside the hospital or merge or partner with a clinic outside the hospital so that you would still cater the patient base that you used to have just before the pandemic. The infrastructure and supply chain investment is one of the opportunities for doctors as well as hospitals. This is the right time for you to invest in computer-based healthcare provision. And, one example is provision of virtual care. The virtual care is connected to your pharmacy, so that every time you make prescription, the pharmacy will be alerted to somehow deliver the medicine required for the patient. Or you can schedule the patient in medical laboratory or radiology procedure right after you make your request. And I think dealing with this is quite a big investment in terms of information technology, but this will improve the quality healthcare as well as bringing the healthcare near to the patient. So, how about a bigger hospital, or if you have a very good financial status, you can go and establish your own hospital, or you can ask for a group of people to help with you and make a corporation, or should I say, a society building a hospital to provide healthcare, not only in the vicinity but also in the entire archipelago. Because we have to think that although a lot of hospital is in problem with their financial status because of the problem with the bill, as well as problem with the promissory notes, etc. But this pandemic too shall pass. Just like any other pandemic, the pandemic that we are having right now should pass. So going through, we have to plan, and the plan must be done now so that when the pandemic is over, we can start to rebuild the healthcare infrastructure. And those who start early, and this is a dictum, those who start early are the sure winners right after the pandemic. So this is our hospital. To give you a glimpse on the different hospitals that we have established in the Philippines. This is the Unihealth Southwoods Hospital that we built 5 years ago. It is now it is a 100-bed hospital with 12,000 square meter floor area, providing a lot of services to our patients in the south. The other one is Santa Rosa Hospital and Medical Center, located in Santa Rosa, Laguna. And this also has been established for the past 12 years and have already recouped most of the investment that we have put into. The other one is the Unihealth Paranaque. This is located in the Sept Avenue. It is one of the prominent hospitals in Paranaque. The Unihealth Aison Hospital and Medical Center. This is the one being built in Tayadas, Quezon. We are about to open the outpatient department this September 17, and the hospital is already on its 20% building. The price vaccine in Las Piñas is this one is an old hospital which we acquired, merged with us, and we are now starting to construct a bigger hospital, again, a 100-bed hospital to cater patient from Las Piñas. The United Biotech Hospital is the one located in the Bang Hari, Molino. This project was about 700 million and, with 400-bed capacity to start. And it's almost on its 90% construction, and a lot of this is being pursued because of the delay in the construction, because we have been affected by the pandemic. We also have other projects in the other part of the country. We have the Unihealth Palawan and Bong. We also have the Unihealth Batangas, and formerly Unihealth Tagaytay and Medical Center has been owned by the Unihealth, but has been sold for a strategic reason. About this, we have been in the business for quite some time. About you going and constructing your own hospital, or going with your friends, making a corporate hospital, or the PCS per se? About that, PCS hospital and medical center, surgeons hospital. A very wise decision, not only good for our patient to have a very good security feeling, because most of the surgeon is in there. So this actually, I suppose, this is the safest case if you are contemplating doing surgery or having surgery in the Philippines. So that's like an investors should focus on the long-term outcomes, and healthcare innovations must also take a long view. So if you are planning to start up with your own hospital, this is the right time for you to plan during the pandemic, and probably start with implementation of your plans post-pandemically, and for sure you're sure. So what are the challenges that you expect to face in construction or establishing a hospital. We all know that there is a problem with the Philippine, and even us, substantial amount of collectibles is hampering the operation of most of our hospitals. And there are a lot of patient, and there are a lot of HMO patient that is actually subsidizing the portion of the people. However, for the HMO, most of them are not currently among the courts, so the profession is much of the issue on this. Other challenges, of course, the leadership, the Department of Health problem is having or putting its toll on us, and a lot of complicated decision making actually is causing a lot of problem in a lot of hospitals. The pandemic, which is not expected, is giving us a lot of adjustment. So every day we have a lot of changes in our policy. Every day we try to collect a lot of data so that we will be updated in the management of patient, and of course the security of our personnel not to contract the same virus. The media as well is a big challenge. It's
it makes you or it breaks because of the gossip going around, but then media actually had been very kind to Unihealth Southwoods. In fact, Unihealth Southwoods became known when the general riding on a helicopter crashed in Laguna, and even the very first patient that survived in our hospital has been all around the social media, and we are the one who make a value proposition in the management of our patient. Quite a problem as well is the senior citizen and the PWD. Remember, this is a 20% discount, and we are giving about 3 million discount just for the senior citizen and the PWD. And of course, the mixture of consultant, the other stakeholder who would be practicing in your hospital are challenged in terms of their behavior, in terms of their practice, and of course, some one-spent dates of the different consultants. Other challenges, okay, this is not a problem. It's not new to you. The nurses and other health-related manpower is on shortage. It's been
going on for the last 5 years, and our corporation has already made some adjustment on the nurse. We used to have 135 nurses. It went up to 85 because of their non-availability. But now we have a substantial number of nurses to help us in carrying quality care. Again, the HMO health case rate, the problem is the collection. The licensing and occupancy, okay, we have to comply with the LDA, DNR, with the 14 categories that we have to comply. That's so difficult for us and complying with our water sewerage system, sewerage system compliance. The DOH policy is actually changing every now and then. And of course, the long rates availment. Not much people or not much corporation were able to avail a lot of capital infusion because of the present situation. Because the demand is to be liquid and secure all the cash that you can have so that you can sustain your operation throughout the country. So other challenges, of course, the competition. If you put up the hospital, of course, you will be getting credentials. You're going to credentialing most of your consultant. They may be practicing in the nearby hospital, so there will be a competition in their practice. If you are having a corporation or hospital, there could be a delinquent stockholders that you cannot project your cash position. And of course, a time that we have to give or repart the little monies sa construction of the hospital.
And this is quite obvious. Different subspecialty request for a different setup. So depending on the cash flow of your hospital, different subspecialty may be given due notice in terms of the request, other may not, depending on the setup or the specialization that should be on the dominance. Or challenges are that doctors may come from other hospital or may come from the other region, just like those practicing in Mindoro. Most of them are coming from Batangas. So, these are the challenges on how you bring the doctors to your hospital. So, what are advantages? Of course, if you own the hospital, you have the first priority in the admission, especially now that we have the COVID pandemic. A lot of
Patients are not being admitted because of the non-availability of most of the nurses and most of the services that needed. And of course, the substantial discount for our stockholders and you yourself, if you are a member of the corporation. And of course, the no-deposit advantage, the no-deposit law is in place, so there's no question about the deposit. However, if this is a PCS hospital, suppose this is a PCS hospital or a corporate hospital, all fellows would be an active staff of the hospital. So the problem with credentialing is overturned. And should there be a retained earning, this will be considered as dividends, and there will be no annual dues for most of the fellows because should they invest.
And of course, the people or the stakeholder must have a possible dividend, and one of the income that they may have is the appreciation of the value of stocks. And suppose this is a PCS hospital, all fellows would be an active staff of the hospital, or those who have put their stocks in the hospital, whether fellows or not, should be an active staff of the hospital. The other fellows who would not put their stock in the hospital may consider as a visiting consultant and will also be recognized as part of that hospital. The improvement in financial status of the PCS is again hospital of the PCS, of course, with the retained earning. The financial status would be good, and I'll give you details on this in my other slides. And if you're a stockholders, whether you are doctors or not, you have the option to sell the stocks to other specialty and earn from the selling of stocks because that is your own stock. And the other benefits are, of course, the benefits to your relative, to your immediate relative. Is, of course, everything of these are advantages. And of course, there is strength that we can have being in a corporation or a PCS hospital. So other
advantages are it contribute again to the overall improvement of the hospital. This is the PCS. This could be a feminine hospital, of course. Although we do not want to make money on the misfortune of others, but this is the truth that provision of quality healthcare goes with some valuable resources. And other advantage, and I think this is one of the strengths that we have considered, that no other society have ever the same vision, I suppose. So should they have the same vision, I think we are on the right position to be ahead of them in doing the business of hospital. And of course, the advantage that we can have I think the strength that we can have is that it's easy to market. It's easy to sell the services of the hospital. It's easy to sell the stocks of the hospital because of the name of high caliber surgeon who would be included as part of the services or as part of the consultant of the PCS hospital. Or if you have your own hospital or you're building up a new hospital, try to look for people who have already established in the area. Suppose you are practicing in Laguna, look for those people who are in a very high or very active practice that they will bring patient to your hospital or even include them as part of your staff or founder or major staff of the hospital. For sure, they will be bringing a lot of patients to your hospital. So all in all, these are advantages that give us notion to invest and we plan. We can plan right now and take advantage of these advantages. And I think the strength of this hospital, whether it is a PCS hospital or your own hospital, we just follow the what is obvious, and then let's see, probably the planning would take about 4 to 6 months, and I think the pandemic will be over in 4 to 6 months, hopefully. And I'm very optimistic in my forecast, and because of the possible availability of the vaccine. At any rate, we don't know. Everything is uncertain. Suffice it to say that this is the right time for you to make a very good number of people who will deal with you. You can create a committee in the PCS, or you can create a group of people whom you will work with and start with a corporation dealing with or with a vision that will be putting up a hospital. So in our hospital, these are the benefits that we give. If you're a stockholder or spouse of stockholder, you have a pre-board and lodging after the suite room because you own the hospital. So different percentages in terms of services that we give. 30% for the X-ray, ultrasound, CT scan, etc. for stockholders and spouse. Because you are free with the room, it goes with the operating room, the delivery room, recovery room, any types of room that you would want to use, that's free. And of course, the 20% discount in the dialysis treatment fees, because most of the time, we outsource our dialysis unit. For medical stockholder, you can have your clinic at a maximum of 6 hours per week, paying only the common usage area. So 6 hours, I think 6 hours is good enough for most of the surgeons. And if you are a stockholder, after paying your privilege to practice, you may be included in the decking or rotation for a walk-in patient. How about other dependents? Other dependents may, of course, be given the benefit. So the pre-board and lodging up to the private accommodation or private room accommodation, and they themselves also have a substantial discount in every room that we have. And of course, 25% in many of the diagnostic procedure that we are providing. Again, 20% for dialysis and 10% discount for merchandise things. So we also consider your natural parents to be your dependents. So we give them the 10% discount on room accommodation, 10% discount on the operating rooms, emergency rooms, and of course the radiology and other provided procedure. Everything of this is, of course, because you're the owner of the hospital, whether it's a PCS hospital or a corporate hospital, all stockholders are given the benefit of being provided with a quality healthcare at the discounted, or should I say, if that is a room accommodation, free until 45 days of your stay. But mind you, it seems very substantial in our provision of benefit, but then one thing, nobody would like to be admitted in the hospital. Plus the fact that most of us do have our health most of us do have our HMO. I think suffice it to say, and I think it's obvious that if you're a stockholder, well, our third-party payer and most of our stockholder. So benefit-wise, although you are providing this benefit, nobody would like to be admitted. So to give you a good example of our hospital, this is a real figure. So our Unihealth Southwoods Hospital and Medical Center used to have a gross revenue, annual gross revenue about 350 million. Last year, I was given the target of about 500 million, and I think that's a very ambitious target. But then we were able to harden the target, and we made 560,000 more on the gross revenue target. So this is the actual figure that we have. So after giving total discount of 39 million per year, actually we are giving practically 3 million discount every month to senior citizen, and the availment of most of the stockholders amounts to about 400 to 500,000 a month only. So after the gross revenue, deducting your total discount, our net revenue is about 446 million. And the gross income after deducting the gross sale is 324 million. And removing all the operating expense in our hospital, which amounts about 260 million, we arrive at a net income before tax of 78 million. That, of course, includes the other source of income. So overall, we earn about 56 million last year. 56, however, because of the allowances, because of the gasoline allowances, the board members' salary, which account for about 36 million. If you would add up to the 56 million, that is about 92 million. So practically the income that we have every year is almost 100 million. So this is substantial amount. Only for the last 5 years when we started our hospital, at 420,000, and now we have a total asset of about 420 million. Now we have a total asset of about 843 million. Remember, 100 million net income every year. So we only have this manpower, about 400 doctors, 335 employees, and we were able to fill up our nurses, which we try to persuade always to stay in our hospital. So we are keeping 135 nurses in our hospital. So this is the real figure. So this hospital goes with a total annual patient of about 92,320. Sorry for this slide. And we only have about 6,825 total admission, with average daily inpatient only of 66 patients. Okay, why 66? Because most of our patients are coming from a little far, because we are in the ecocentrum, which is the non-residential area. Suffice it to say that we are only admitting about 17 patients per day, and our patient length of stay is about 3.2 days. So if we are considering corporation or hospital for the PCS, 17 patients per day is very low. Probably if you can have a heterogeneous group, a lot of pediatrician, a lot of surgeon, a lot of OB and internists, you may go as high as 50, probably. Almost half of the hospital will be admitted in every day. But remember, the 3.2 days length of stay, if you have 65 to 66 patients that will stay for 3 days, so you practically will be admitting about 20% patient additional for the full capacity of your hospital. So if we have a top caliber surgeons admitting one per day, so you only need about 20 to 30 surgeons to admit one patient per surgeon, and the hospital is full probably. So for 100-bed hospital, how do we do it? So for 100-bed hospital, we almost make it 100 million initial capitalization. If you have 1,390 stockholders, suppose this is a PCS with 2,780 fellows. 1,390 fellows may be practicing in Manila or the nearby provinces. And with the initial capitalization of 100 million, you can have 40,000 shares or 4,000 blocks. And the estimated cost of the building for the 12,000 square meter area that would be able to accommodate 100 bed patient or 100 patient, you will be needing about 480 million for the building, and that is computed at 40,000 per square meter. The equipment and instrument may be loaned, or you can have it on outsourced basis, or you can have it on a Regent tie-up, or you can go on with a 5 years amortization, whatever. This is not a problem, that 200 million, because a lot of businesses or businessman or provider are giving quite a number of months before or years before you fully pay the equipment that you need. So if you have 1,390 fellows, you can also invite other specialists as well. You can invite non-medical. You can invite those people who are just investing, or those people who would like to have a security or peace of mind that whenever they made hospitalization, they can be accommodated in your hospital. So with that 350,000 as a capital investment, or the individual investment of the stockholder, you can raise 486,500,000. So with the right of practice of 150,000, suppose there are only 500 doctors who would like to practice in your hospital, that's about 75 million. With the possible total, this is very conservative. So you will have an initial of 561 million. So 561 million, and from the start, you'll be needing about 680 million. So 560 million would be enough for your building. And I suppose it's more than enough for your building. And the equipment and instrument that you will be buying may be bought on amortized, or can be bought on Regent tie-up, or any other arrangement that you would like it to be. So capital investment is enough. Even only half of the fellows could invest. Other specialists may also join. In fact, the hospital cannot provide other services. That is, we cannot go away with our friend in the other specialty, and of course in the other society. So if your group is planning to make a hospital, make it a heterogeneous group, so that there will be specialists in any disease or patient that you would like to invite. So other people may also invest. These are those people who are just would like to make some security among themselves in the post-agreement of quality healthcare. And because we are having 100 million net income every year, and the startup capital that we'll be needing is 680 million. The possible return of investment with a further improvement or without further purchase of other instrument and materials will be about 5 to 8 years. These things are very conservative. In fact, these are just some actual. These are actual. And we have been through this business for the last 12 years. And, if your group is contemplating on putting up or investing in the hospital, this is the right time for you to plan, and this is the right time for you to look for the friend, or if you're in the PCS, this is the right time for you to make a committee to handle this issue. And I think this undertaking is quite good for every member of the society. Again, if you're not sure with the investment, you might as well not invest. But then again, I think during pandemic, there are other investment opportunities that you can have. But if you're not in the business circle, you might as well join the group, because this business proposition builds a lot of leadership, builds a lot of investment, and there's a lot of thinking. I wish that everybody has been enlightened with this, and of course, as a surgeon, whether you're a pediatric surgeon, whether you're a thoracic surgeon, whether you're a general surgeon, you always want to operate in the operating room with your friend from other society. I would like to go along with other surgeons as well, and hopefully we can have our own PCS hospital and medical center. Thank you.
You may post your questions in the Q&A box, and we will begin our open forum shortly. Let us welcome back our 4 speakers for the question and answer portion, moderated by Dr. Bong Tuazon.
A pleasant good morning to everyone, to our audience. I'm very much honored to moderate this 4th and last webinar series in honor of our good friend, the late Dr. June Resurrection. We have a few reminders to keep in mind. Please take your queries on the Q&A box and indicate if you'd like to direct your questions to a specific speaker. You may also opt to raise your hand, and we will allow you to ask a question during the panel discussion. Please be ready with your question to facilitate a faster transition once you are called and asked to unmute yourself. Let me take this opportunity first to thank our sponsors. The major sponsor is Sept Philippines, who is being our major sponsor through thick and thin, no? Even during the pandemic era. We have Variance Trading Incorporated, and we have also ProLife UK. And like to thank also special mention to the Med Symphony, composed of the medical students from Western Visayas State University, who sang the national anthem. Before we start this formal discussion with our distinguished speakers, on behalf of the society, let me greet Dr. Wilma Baltasar, a 70th. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, ma'am. I'm very much honored to have invited these four distinguished speakers. No? And this panel discussion will be dealing with all the types of business ventures that you have. And we invited also Ms. Edel Belleza to give us the tips on how to do the proper investment and to save money. And one thing that is in common with our speakers, no, Ms. Edel Belleza is the only beauty among the best, not the beast. Okay, and we have this male surgeons. They're all surgeons, and they have their respective investment and business ventures that they all shared with us earlier. And let me share and ask first. No, we have a Q&A later, and then my question first to the beauty. Okay, I want to quote you, Miss Edel. It doesn't matter how much you earn. What matters is how much you save. And that's very realistic of being a medical practitioner. And we're able to learn a lot from the rule of 72, which is the compounding interest, which in my personal experience, I did not hear from my agents. Now, based on your financial prescriptions that you have lectured to us, you have the time deposit, the mutual or the stocks, and also the real estate. In this discussion, I have categorized our doctors into three. First are those doctors who have recently graduated and starting to practice their profession. So meaning they have less savings compared to others. The second group would be the doctors who are already on their peak of their practice, able to save money, and some might have already ventured into these types of investment. And the third, which we consider our seniors, and for those who have saved a lot and about to retire. But the question, if they have invested. And we all know that during this pandemic, we are all financially affected. In reality, practice, if you rely purely on your practice in this pandemic, okay, and you don't have any solution to that, sadly to say, you're very, very much affected. Okay, so based on the financial prescriptions that you mentioned, what can you suggest or offer to our doctors? I'm talking about the medium, and the high risk projects that you have.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Tuazon, for that very important question. Our financial goals would differ depending on our status right now. And what's common right now is we are all experiencing this pandemic. And if you are in the early stage of your practice, most often than not, this will be the stage where you're still starting to build your savings. What's important is you start at somewhere. No, it doesn't have to be big. Like what I've mentioned a while ago, it doesn't matter how much you earn. Even if you're already at the peak of your career and you're earning 500,000 or 1 million per month, compared to a newly starting pediatric surgeon, probably if you're just earning 100 or less than that, I always ask my clients the question, what percentage from your income are you willing to set aside? No, kasi it's based on the percentage and not on the actual amount. Because at the end of the day, if you ask yourself of a percentage, you will come up with something. Ang isang tao pong kumikita ng 1 million per month and yet ang naswipe sa credit card is 1.2 is still much broke than somebody who's just earning 50,000 and saving 5,000 per month. So kung nagsisimula pa lang po, for those who are still starting, the programs that I have shown you a while ago, the elite program, you can actually start it as low as 200 to 300 pesos per day. That's just roughly around how much of, or probably just one patient that you have. No, despite the decrease of patients that you have right now, if you are willing to really ensure the protection of your family, even with just that small amount, depending on how much you would like to save, that's the peace of mind that you will get. No, if you are in the peak of your career, naman, I encourage you to really look into the priorities that you have. What would be the goals? Probably if you've studied for many years, we don't want those many years to just go to nothing. If you have been in the peak of your career, I'm sure your earnings are also higher than those who are still starting. It's good that you're into real estate. It's good that you're putting up a business. And at the same time, as you create those wealth, as important is also protecting that wealth. Na po. Kasi we have experienced that during this pandemic. We have seen in just one click how uncertainties happen. And if we are not adequately protected, it's just sad, no, that there are a lot of businessmen, even nakita po natin that there are a lot of your colleagues na ayaw man natin na ma-experience yon, and yet they're facing the reality, no? Because we are all at risk during this pandemic. And sana lang po, no? Sana lang na we can set aside, I'm not saying all, but we can set aside a portion of our income so that when the uncertainty happens, hindi po natin kailangang kumbaga magsimula sa umpisa, no? So, and for those who are at nearing the end of their career, there are also some programs which either you can create those programs as a legacy to your family, or probably to some or to most of my clients who are already in their retirement years, we do a program called Borrowed Life, where it's a legacy for their grandchildren, it's a legacy for their family. So they are the policy owners, and at the same time they are setting aside those investments for their families, and still having control, no? Having control of those money that they have really set aside for their loved ones. So at the end of the day, different folks would have different strokes. So if your goal is to ensure your retirement, if your goal is to make sure that your family is protected, or if your goal is for those who are starting and have children who are yet to study, we also have programs which can ensure the education of your children. And these are all not in one blanket. As a financial expert, I'm a wealth and estate planner. I can also do estate planning programs for those who would be needing it. And this is my passion. this is what I always tell my financial consultants when I accept them into my agency. I always tell them to focus on the mission first and not on the commission. Because at the end of the day, every time we talk to audience like this, it's your lives whom we wish to change, ours. As you take action in the advice that we are giving you, families nyo po yung naliligtas, and yung future nyo po ang na-ensure natin na ma-secure. Okay, that's it.
Yes, thank you for that. I agree that doctors are not robots. We are also vulnerable to getting sick and meeting accidents. And with in relation to this present pandemic, to the previous lecture that you mentioned about the health protection, I would just, can you enlighten us about the life insurance with critical illness? Because this type of insurance is not only life insurance, but if you will be able to be diagnosed with these certain critical illnesses, then you get insured. At the same time, you get a monthly allowance for being sick. I think this is a very interesting project that you have in your portfolio.
That's right. Thank you so much, Doctor. And if I can elaborate on that, that is actually the elite program, which I have shared with you a while ago. And this elite program is a variable unit-linked life insurance program, and it's pioneered by PruLife UK. So it's a combination of insurance and at the same time investments, and as well as the uncertainties in between. So if we get diagnosed, we have protection or life insurance in place. And at the same time, if we get diagnosed of a critical illness, there's a separate provision for that. It could be a part of that sum assured or insurance, or it could be separate from your sum assured. So like, for example, if I get a 10 million insurance, I could allocate 3 million on that for my critical illness benefit. That if I get diagnosed of a critical illness, I won't have to withdraw from the bank. I will have in place a ready critical illness provision, and it's available right the moment I need it. And at the same time, if accidents happen, there could also be a provision for accidents. If we get hospitalized, we also give daily hospital income allowance. So that means if I get hospitalized of any illness, be it dengue or typhoid, whatever that is, if I have a 5,000, that's the maximum daily allowance, then I'll be receiving, if I get hospitalized for 10 days, then I'll be receiving 10 days times 5,000 per day allowance. There's also a surgical expense allowance. There's also long-term hospitalization allowance, and even a disability allowance. So ito po yung kagandahan ng insurance right now. Kasi po, probably some of us would still be knowing the traditional insurance before, na ako yung naguhulog, pero if something happens to me, I need the money, wala akong makukuha kasi para lang yun sa may iwanan. That's the traditional insurance po. So si PruLife po in 2002, it launched the variable life insurance, and we are the pioneer in the variable life insurance, where it combined insurance plus investments and as well as provisions for uncertainties.
Thank you. So friends, let me remind you that health is wealth. Okay, so let us protect ourselves, even we know how to treat these diseases. Thank you, Edel.
My pleasure.
I have a question to the youngest surgical consultants here, Dr. Russel. By the way, Miss Edel is the ingat yaman, okay? The sick, the person who knows the financial secret of Dr. Alegarbes. Russel, congratulations for those business ventures that you have discussed earlier. Um, even I think you have already the business minded character even during your training. No, you'll be able to think about how to earn, how to augment the allowance that you were being given before. Um, Ras, just a question regarding your waste reduction, management, or disposal. No? As what Dr. Elvis has mentioned, he's into hospital construction and building. Ang dami nagpapatay ng ospital. Pero ni wala doon sa ospital ang gustong tumanggap ng basura nila. So now we believe that may pera sa basura. So I'm very glad that a surgical consultant would be involved in this particular business venture. No? Ras, given this opportunity in this pandemic era, how would you be of help to our colleagues, no, in the medical field, given this how they can join, how can they participate in this business venture like this waste disposal?
Thank you. The being a doctor is actually an advantage because you have the know-how, the in and out of the hospital. So I came across this business during my trips to Cebu, and it all started when I asked him about this particular friend of mine that they're planning to put up one facility in Manila. But after a year, I asked him again what happened to their proposal. That they said that we focus the resources in overseas and in Davao. So I studied myself. What about if I'm gonna put one in Metro Manila? So I did my own research. I did a facility study. So knowing the hospitals, existing hospitals, I did my study from Muntinlupa all the way to Batangas, and I found out that these 280 plus 84 hospitals in existence are actually they have four haulers or transporter companies that are in contract with the hospitals. They are the ones that pick up their waste, hospital waste twice a week. And one particular company is actually has the capacity to treat the waste, they use autoclave to render the waste infection free. But the problem with that, there's a choke, meaning it's only limited by the volume. So if in a particular day you have 10 or 15 trucks that has to be treated, it will pile up. So that's the reason why hospital mga bodega nila punong-puno ng basura. They're able to pick up because of the backlog. So when I know that, so I parted with them with regards to the permit, everything. We set up one in Valenzuela and the other one right now in Laguna. Dr. Bedia happens to be would like to also to help us with putting one in Laguna area. So because the corporation where I'm into, there are only two of us, and I'm the only doctor in the company. So it's difficult for us to penetrate big cities. We need contacts. So if you are not into a big corporate, managing a corporation like this is one way to help that hospital to lessen the burden of the waste by one. They can as a transporter, meaning you have 2 or 3 small size delivery trucks wherein it passes the specification that we have, and then we'll give you a permit so that you can get in contact with the hospitals and offer them your services, and also talk to the existing transporters, haulers, that you will be the one to transport their waste to the facility. And in doing so, they will pay you the corresponding amount per kilo of the waste. The other way is that if you're connected with a government hospital, you can try to influence the administrator that we have a technology to solve their problem. We're in with regards to the funds, we can actually create a setup wherein we can provide the machine, we can train a personnel from them, and we can operate it actually for free. Only that we will treat their waste within that hospital. So the other thing is that the government, if they have the funds, they can purchase the machine themselves, and we be the one to maintain it. So those are the options actually for them to, if they want to partner with us. And right now we managed to secure a property 2 towns away from the city of Cebu. We really have a problem with the waste right now. So the untapped market are actually the Gupan, but Abataan, the Gupan, vegan area. And then we have one existing na in Naga, and then of course Batangas area. So one facility in Valenzuela is not enough. It's really at a maximum na ngayon. That machine has that 10 tons capacity per day, so it's really not enough. Plus the hospitals in the south of the city area, we need to put up one, and it's only a matter of time and contacts the right person. And we are the doctors in the, I mean, we are the medical profession. We know actually a lot of people who are the key people inside in the hospital. It's one way of helping them to get to process this waste in a nice because as you can see in the video, the 100 kilo waste turned into 30 kilo waste, and it's dry and it's hindi mabaho. And the other machine that we've made is that the byproduct, we can build a brick. We can mix it with a little bit of cement, and we can build a brick wherein we can use it as mga walkways. So it's really almost recycled waste, even if it's medical waste. Of course, you cannot use the brick inside your houses, or you use it for walkways. So thank you. I think hopefully I managed to explain them.
Thank you, Russell, for that. Now that the viewers know that they have several options to join your company as a transporter, as an investor, or they can provide the manpower.
May I add?
Yes, Russell.
We cannot. There's a demand to dispose of the sharps in every clinic, paanakan, dental. So we cannot accommodate those the small centers, but they are required by the government that they have a PCO, they have a DNR certified company that would collect them. So they have to show it before they can operate or secure a business to operate. So there's a niche in that area, and any interested can actually do that. If we have a team of people, we have a team that caters to the permits. Because the permit is very important. It takes some time. It's very tedious securing permits from the DNR, and of course the DOH.
Sounds a bit complicated, but very promising business prototype. Upon looking at the screen, there's a common denominator between with these gentlemen. Aside from they're all surgeons, they're all good looking, and I think they're all connected with a government hospital. Am I correct? Okay, and with that, okay, just a tip to our viewers. If you are affiliated with a government hospital, you have a fixed monthly income, being a part-time or full-time consultant. And that is not affected during the pandemic. So just a tip, okay? When you're young, newly graduated, and you can apply, okay, to your nearest government centers. Thank you, Russell.
My pleasure.
Kuya Dexter, thank you for the ideas, the principles, and the analysis of the different business prototypes that you have discussed. And I'm very glad to know also that the particular very busy surgeon like you will be able to indulge yourself with this laundry business. My question, pre-COVID era, I know that the demand for laundry, especially near the universities or near the hospitals, no, it's very high. But during this pandemic, Kuya Dexter, would you like to share your experience? Was the demand became low because you have to stay at home, quarantine yourself, especially that the students are they have a learning the e-learning at home. Can you share your experience with us, Kuya Dexter?
Yes, of course. No, all businesses were down starting March 15 when the lockdown was instituted. It was 2.5 months of closure of all businesses for that matter. But then again, thereafter, it was opened slowly. So in relation to your question, the feasibility of the laundry business that I went through, self-service laundry business, was not just centered on the dormitory. Like for example, the first one that I have, I did some feasibilities on the households, okay, and as well as feasibility on additional students, like the medical students, the nurses, the residents for that matter. So, true, there was a glut in the students coming in, but when I was doing some feasibilities, it was not purely dedicated or to the clientele such as dormitories and students. There are nearby clienteles that I took into consideration, which is actually the household. You have to take care of that. That's your basic clientele or market. Additional lang yung mga dormitories, students, and hospital doctors and nurses that are in the area. So with the opening up of the economy, which started about 2 months ago, we did get into the rising of the business, self-service laundry business.
Are you into franchising already?
Mahirap pa kasi COVID pa eh. But it was really planned earlier on. In fact, as mentioned earlier, my competitor went into it earlier on. But in terms of innovation of the business, the branching out, it is still in the hanging. It's still hanging in this COVID pandemic period.
Good, Dex. I'm happy that you don't just settle for being for establishing this laundry business branches, but you also have a goal to be a direct distributor of these machines.
Yes, yun nga. We got held on. My wife and I were planning to have the trip to Korea for talking to this big washing machine producers, but we were held on by the COVID, and that's the reason why maraming branches. No, right now I'm into the exclusive distribution of the air filter supply for the mask, which we all know is very important, not just for doctors, but also for the public. We're all wearing masks, and it's so difficult having the mask on, so difficult to inspire or respire. So branching out because of the COVID, the business is trying to get into exclusive distribution of a particular filtered air supply for mask in PPRs.
Kuya, last question. Starting this laundry business, how much are we talking here? How much capital you're going to shell out?
I mentioned earlier that it is not personnel. There's not much great personnel. Everything else is centered on machines, the one that's giving us the service. So, and there are several kinds of laundry businesses. There's there's several kinds of laundry businesses and laundry machines. The one that you have at home is the household laundry machine. So it's roughly about 60. On the commercial level, which is my level, iba pa kasing industrial level, one that takes care of laundry of restaurants, for example, of hotels and hospitals. That's the industrial level. On the commercial level of laundry, self-service laundry business, we're talking about a particular kind of laundry machines, both washers and dryers, that would roughly cost about 160 to 170 per pair. So it's a little bit more centered on that. But take note, in other businesses, capitalization is invested on some other things that are usually expendable, meaning mawawala as you go through the business. In my particular laundry, self-service laundry business, I will have the laundry machine, as long as it's a durable one, for life. Now, if something goes wrong with the location, for example, it does not jive with the feasibility, the initial feasibility, I can take out the machines and put it somewhere else for another branch. And that's the nice thing about this particular investment. You can transfer this, and wala siyang, you're only, ang habol mo lang is the return of investment of the capitalization, for which I was able to have the return of investments in 2.5 years. So I'm already getting the netto since a year ago.
So this means that for any business that you venture into, you should have the knowledge, the analysis, and the passion.
Yes, passion number one. Passion number one. Second is a big analysis on any business. You should be able to analyze it well. Kasi as mentioned by our good friend Miss Belleza, businesses, yung sa kanyang slides, no, bankruptcy is a big factor, no. So, ba't naman magbabankrupt ang isang business? Make some reserve or options for that. Kung let's say mabankrupt doon, maililipat mo ba? Or mauubos ba talaga lahat ng iyong capitalization? In the self-service laundry business, your capitalization is really invested on the machines, which will be for life as long as it's not, it does not comp out.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dexter, for that. And now let's go to the most complicated business opportunity that we always face as a medical practitioner, which is the hospital building or in construction. Dr. Elvis, first of all, thank you for inviting, for accepting our invitation to be one of our speakers, no, in this webinar. And we are neighbors in Southwoods.
Oh.
We have patients who are to be isolated, COVID suspect or COVID positive. We transfer it to Unihealth. We refer it to your center.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, now let's go to your forte, which is hospital. How would you be able to, because hospital construction's been there 5, 8, 10 years ago, and we see a lot of this, we see a lot of this, okay, even in the provincial area. And the main question here that everybody is really interested to know is, how do you earn from this? Aside from building a hospital that will take care of patients, what is the secret behind this hospital construction? We know that there are benefits, okay? Benefits that we get as founder. And these benefits help us, okay, in our future, that in case we get sick, we can use this benefit as founder, free hospitalization, 50% to the dependents, like that. But as I know, you have the founder shares and the common stockholder shares. Can you tell the viewers who are interested but a bit confused in joining this prototype of business?
Okay, before I start with this, allow me to say hi to the other guys in the screen, Dr. Aison and Dr. Alegarbes. We were in somehow been in the same business. Kaya nga itong mga kasama ko ito, they are themselves also doctorpreneurs. This doctorpreneurship is a new term actually. It's just being used for the last 5 years. And growing up, as mentioned, the building of hospital has been noticeable for the last 8 to 10 years. Actually, we started our hospital sometime in 2008. The first hospital that we had in Santa Rosa. So how do we earn? Okay. Number one, suppose you are a founder, there are a lot of requirements for you to become a founder. Not only financially that you will have to invest, but also you have the capability as well to run the hospital. Okay, that is where we invest. Actually, I invested in my own study in 2002 when Dr. Aison and I has been practicing actively. Here in the South, we practice on the same hospital, and we build a hospital ng Bedia together. That is a government hospital. I invested on myself. I took up MHSA in Ateneo, and so I study Master in Business Administration, and also I'm a PhD in Business Management. So I invested on myself. So how did we do it? There are a lot of people who would like to join us. So all in all, we made ourselves dependable in the formulation of policy, construction of the hospital, and of course the run of the business. So with this, we were able to attract other founders as well who are good practitioners around the area. So these are the locally practicing, number one, number two, or even for as long as they're practicing in the area, that those people will give you a lot of patients. So how do we earn? Substantial amount, of course, of shares will be allocated to the founders. And suppose, just like the PCS format that I had given, suppose there are 4,000 blocks, and the acquisition of the common shareholders is only half of that. So a lot of founders would be investing for the other half. So of course, these are the two-tier corporation. The two-tier corporation actually have the management as well as the administration side. So you have the board of directors who are actually managing the entire hospital. They give the direction, the mission, the vision, the values, even the culture that you have to have in your hospital. These are the function of those who are in the management. The other one is in the administration. Of course, the administration, the medical director, etc. So we manage. Of course, as a founder, you have all the founders, supposedly there were 50 or 75 of us founders, we choose those who can actually run the hospital. And we don't actually earn servicing this hospital. We earn via our per dime basis. So we go on the office, we don't have the actual salary that we have. It's gratis for the corporation, but we are given the gas allowance. So you have to earn. You have to do something to earn. So that gas allowance, that is not substantial. 2,000, 3,000, even 4,000 for every meeting that we had. Suppose you have everyday meeting, and that's probably 2,000 a day for you. But then, of course, you can do more than that. And of course, this is our hospital. The best thing that we can do in terms of our earning is earning from our profession. So we build this hospital for us to have our own hospital where we can operate, where we can do our craft. This is the best thing that we do in our hospital. And although not much income for the hospital because of the constant improvement, constant innovation, etc. For as long as you are practicing in your hospital, you are improving on your skills, you are improving in your practice. These are our income, should I say, in the management of our hospital.
Okay, Dr. Elvis, how do you become a founder, and how much are we talking about?
Okay, being a founder is by invitation. So not all founders, not everybody is actually being invited to be founder. As I said, most of the founders are heavily practicing or actively practicing their own craft. Actually, I've been inviting Dr. Aison for quite some time. Pero iba ang passion niya. So during that time na kami nag-iwalay, during the first hospital that we have constructed, medyo ibang passion ni Dr. Aison. Ibang passion ko. I go to office, I go to the operating room. And ito yung mga kailangan mo sa founder. Of course, pinag-usapan natin is no less than 5 million for individual founder. Hindi naman po, suppose the initial capitalization is 100 million. So you just pay 25% of the 25% initially for your registration to the Sept. So that's only 5 million for the 50 founder. And then eventually you have to pay for your subscription. Hindi naman po tumatayo ang hospital ng isang araw. We have to do the construction for the next 24 to 36 months. So slowly we are chipping in some capital infusion, and eventually with the help of other doctors as well who would like to join us, we allow them to join through the early payments of actually the common stockholder just pay 10,000 a month. So I don't think that would be enough for even for a starting surgery.
Okay, thank you for that insight, Dr. Elvis. Now let's go to the question and answer in our chat box. First question is addressed to to Miss Edel, coming from Carlota Villanueva. The question is, I had an experience recently regarding insurance companies which became unstable with this pandemic. Was your company have been affected with this pandemic, considering money is really at stake on this investment?
Yun. Yes, thank you so much for that question. Um, what's good about there are a lot of businesses that are really affected during this time, and for us to really thrive in this new normal, we really have to adapt. And the good thing about Crew Life UK is that seeing the need that we really have to continue to protect the lives of the Filipinos, um, we have actually adapted to the new normal and are now allowed to conduct virtual presentations with our clients so as to continue to reach out to whoever clients would be needing our advice. Okay, so the company has continuously been growing. We have actually given claims to a lot of clients, and even if the global market is affected, the insurance industry has not been gravely affected by what is happening during this pandemic, as we know that we still have to continue to deliver as we have promised. So right now, if clients come to us, we do not go face to face as we see the risks that are which are still out there. So we give financial advice to our clients by doing our virtual presentations so that they can still get and avail of the protection programs that they need, and as well as the investment programs.
Okay, thank you. The next question is addressed to Russell. Do you talk to hospitals to get their waste products, their infectious waste products?
As I mentioned, in the existing hospital setup, they have their own, they contracted with a hauler or a transporter already. So they, if there's a new hospital and if you get to offer your services to this hospital and you decided to put up a transporter, you really talk to them, then offer them your price, and of course how the waste was was treated and how the waste was disposed of. So you need to show them that what you have is actually the most acceptable way of disposing the waste. And for other, if you decide to put up a machine and you do not actually you decide to not to engage in transporter, then you can invite other transporters. You will give them your permit, and they will use that to contract with to continue doing their weekly pickup in the hospital. So the existing transporter will still be your client, and that's the usual setup. So you can choose if you're a transporter or the treater, or if you're connected in the government, and then you can help your local hospital to to not influence them but offer them the services that we do have this technology already. So right now we are in the campaign period, so for them to have an idea that the waste, there's a proper way to dispose it, and it's to lessen its impact, of course. And the pricing wise will still be actually the same, only that you will dispose your waste responsibly. So hopefully I answered.
Yeah, and I think waste disposal is part of the requirements of DOH, no, in order to start the business, especially in the hospital or medical facilities. I think, Russell, this question is addressed to you. What are the thoughts? What are your thoughts on cryptocurrency investments like Bitcoin and others?
So I hope everybody read their news about they know about cryptocurrency. So it's the actually two-way of earning from cryptocurrency. I myself I can say that I'm because I'm into cryptocurrency, but I'm not into trading cryptocurrency because trading is like the stock market. You can in one day you gain this much, but the following day you will lose everything. So it's if you can set aside an amount and then you think that it's a new not yet acceptable, but it's the new way of investment. What I noticed about this Bitcoin or alternative coins, we have the Bitcoin, we have the Ethereum, Zilliqa, Digibyte, and so on and so forth. The, it has a track record when it started at 2 pesos in 2009 and went up to in $2,000, and in 2017 went up to $21,000 per Bitcoin. Suddenly, people, it is. But the following day, it died less than 8,000. So, in one day, maraming nawala ng pera. So, but again, before February, before COVID, the Bitcoin went up as high as $19,000, but a week after that went down to 8,000. So it's really not a stable market. The other way for us to if you are if you're picky enough, during the lockdown, so I managed to purchase initially 10 mining machines. These are the machines that keeps the contract. I mean, keeps the it's an algorithm that keeps the contract for other payment system, banking system all over the world actually connected. Most of the miners are actually in the Northern Hemisphere, Canada, and Europe, and then China and India, but few are actually doing it in the Philippines. So, but the hardware investment is quite high. I need to put up a 30,000 wattage separate line from the main line. So I need to fireproof the mining area. I need to put a well ventilation in the area. And of course, you need to put a camera, and then you have to have an app that keeps you aware of the temperature, everything. But as the months pass by, you will notice that because they will pay you according to the algorithm or the contract that passes to your machine. So it depends on everybody who are interested or thinking enough. They can actually if they have an extra amount of money, they can buy other alternative coins that's cost about 10 cents this month, and then suddenly in the next month or a year, it goes up just like the Bitcoin. So, but if you're not that well aware of the my suggestion is you have to study first. Otherwise, you will lose your savings overnight. So I think that's my take on cryptocurrency.
Thank you, Russell. Sounds so high-tech for others. My next question, I think I'll address this to Dr. Dexter. How do you hire people in your businesses? Now, for example, in the laundry business, how do you keep your personnel?
Yes, as mentioned earlier, I do not have much personnel. No, what the most is 2 per branch, depending on the number of machines. So how do I get my personnel? Recommendations. Trust is very important kasi siya magpapaandar right? And siya yung magbubulsa kung sakali nung kita. So trust is very important. So the usual NBI clearance, police clearance, and so on. And in the laundry, self-service laundry business, there's a counter in the machine. So kailangan magtugma yun with regards to the sales. At the same time, I have to watch over them. I have a CCTV so that it's live fed on me. That's why I know how many per day, how many washing and drying was done. So how do I get my the usual, getting the right personnel with trust and confidence and loyalty to be searched for. Those are the how I get my personnel. Thank you.
Right now, because laundry business is more on self-service, no? So less personnel, less overhead also. Okay, I think this is addressed to Dr. Elvis. How come when enticing doctors to invest in a hospital, net income like 100 million annually being floated to potential investor, but actual dividend distributed to investors is nil or negligible?
Okay. When it comes to dividend, of course, it depends on the performance of the hospital or any other business enterprise. So, hospital is a different entity. We try to improve ourselves almost every year. Technologically, with our, especially during pandemic, we have to improve on our services, we improve on our PPEs, we improve on our hazard pays, etc. So, ito yung mga malaking gastos ang naging gastos natin dito kami. Personally, actually spending something is every month. So, again, depende po sa retained earnings. So, at the end of the year, after everything has been set, the financial statement, the three financial statement, to give you the financial status of the entire hospital, you have to make a very good financial statement so that the external auditor can actually identify whether you have retained earnings. Remember, retained earnings comes from the actually revenue less of your expense. But mind you, during the first few years of your hospital, there are a lot of birth pains. You have to spend a lot, especially nowadays that you have to improve on the salaries of your nurses. So retained earnings wise, depende po ito eh. Mostly ang retained earnings po kung kayo ay maganda revenue nyo, ang discount nyo ay mababa. Remember, ang discount na binibigay namin sa mga senior citizens about 3 million a month. That's too much. Diba? Pero wala naman tayong pagkukunan nun eh. So, retained earning wise, mayroon pa tayong mga promissory note, may susulat pang galing sa politiko, etc. 100 million is good enough for a 100-bed hospital as an income. Actually, this is our first year, fifth year, and yet this is already 100 million. Imagine, if we are on 90%, 95% occupancy rate in our hospital, the retained earning would be, of course, better in terms of, kasi kami 500 million lang, and yet maganda yung income of 100 million. So with your investment of 600 million, return of investment would be 6 years. Of course, there's a difference in the value for money. The money that you invested 5 years ago is different now. That's why retained earning is not much appreciated in the hospital because of our further improvement. But then, if you are into practice, that will push your practice, number one. Number two, we started selling our stock the first day that we started the operation of the hospital. So how much did we sold it? At 150,000. Now it's almost 350,000. So the appreciation is much more appreciated on the sale, on the secondary sale of your stocks. So again, the value of money 5 years ago is different from the money that you have now. If you put that money in the bank at this time, you will just be earning 1.5% per year. So if you put up the 350,000, you will just be earning 5,000 a year, right? So if your 350,000 investment, sell it after a year or two for 500,000. I suppose the asset of the hospital would be improved. So there will be appreciation of your stock. It's be more than 5,000.
Dr. Elvis, the 150,000 doesn't include the RTP, right to practice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
And
why is the RTP? Okay, why is the RTP? Because there are two types of stockholders that you will have. One is your doctors, and the other one are the non-medical. So if you're a doctor, you have all the benefits practicing the hospital, while the non-medical do not. So that will be the premium that you have to pay, the 150,000. No problem with that. The 150,000 is just given to the corporation, so that there will be a difference between the medical and non-medical stocks. Plus, that will be your payment for your clinic. We don't ask anything from our medical stockholder other than the KUSA, which is common usage. So throughout the time that you are stockholders in the hospital, no payment will be as of you having your clinic in the hospital. All you have to pay is 600 pesos for the common usage area.
Dr. Elvis, another question addressed for you. How does this pandemic affect your hospital operation? PhilHealth owes so much even during pre-COVID era. How much so now during this pandemic as causing hospitals to close? So where do you get nurses to go on duty?
Okay.
This is the lack
we have been preparing for this pandemic since February. We already bought the high flow oxygen and of course the invasive type of ventilator last February. In fact, our respiratory therapists and our pulmonologists, we already had a meeting with this, because as far as I know, if you're the leader of if you're the manager of any other business enterprise, you have to react to the changes in your environment. So if you do not, so ano mangyayari sa'yo? Iwan ka, di ba? Pero what we did, during pandemic, we prepare ourselves. Actually, nung una kaming magkaroon ng pasyente, walang pumapasok na empleyado ko eh. Diba? Yung mga doctor, they tend to stay in their home, hindi na nagki-clinic. So practically from 400 doctors went down to less than 50 ang doktor kung pumupunta sa ospital. Pero what did we do? Okay. During the first few days na medyo nahirapan kami, what we did is we put some value proposition on our management of the patient. So everybody has been crying kasi talaga namang ang daming namamatay na frontliners. Okay? Ang daming namamatay na even sa ibang hospital, ang daming namamatay na pasyente. So what did we do? We reversed the concept. We reversed the concept wherein kami yung una nagpalabas ng video, if you would remember, na yung mga survivor ng COVID, pinapalakpakan pa namin, we give the certificate, ito. So that is the value proposition that we have given. So with that, na-reverse ang mental issues on how you deal with the COVID. So yun po. So medyo nabago yon, and we were able to improve on our number of patients. Plus, I was actually having a hard time during the month of April and even May. Kasi nung April and May, we closed our OPD. Wala kasing pumupunta mga doktor. But then, when I noticed that our revenue is falling down slowly on a monthly basis by 10 million, we were forced to again improve on our census, OPD, and inpatient. So what did we do? We allow our consultant to go into telemedicine. We asked them to hold their clinic. Of course, we have to improve on their clinic, putting on all the acetate, providing them with the N95, providing them with the right PPE, and true enough, we were able to improve on our revenue since June. So June pa lang po, so meron kaming 2 months na medyo laglag. Pero come June, so we are already starting on the improvement of our number of patients as well as revenue. So ito po yung mga ginawa namin for the pandemic. At as of our last board meeting yesterday, we have substantial revenue for the month of August, and we are actually on the break even, already actually more than the break even in our performance. So all in all, when we notice that decreasing in the number, we try to look at the data. So sino ba yung pumupunta sa aming pasyente? 72% of the patient would shy away having a consultation in the hospital. Only 28% go to the hospital. So ano nangyayari? Yung 28% almost half noon ay COVID, yung half ay non-COVID. So most of the time, tinatanggihan ng mga tao yung COVID kasi they do not know yet the disease. So when I made a good study on the admission rate that we're having, I asked the board, let's improve on our PPEs, let's improve on our healthcare frontliner education regarding COVID, and then we'll full blast on COVID. So as you said nga po, nakapag-refer pa kayo dito, and we accept much of the COVID patients. So with that, ay medyo gumanda yung aming mga census and further improve on our performance in the hospital. So the problem with the PhilHealth ay yun po, because of the no balance billing that they are applying, there are other supplies that we cannot give to the patient. Maraming problema eh. And for as long as we have a very good implementation on the economy of scale basis, when we say economy of scale basis is you maximize the use of your resources to maximize your income. So we lessen on the direct cost and indirect cost. So how did we do it? We dilute the indirect cost among the patient. So kung ang pasyente namin ay less chance that this will be a COVID, we lessen the number of PPEs that we're using. Although we did improve in the number of PPEs that we're using, but then again, you can see patient, 2 or 3 patients with 1 PPEs depending on the diagnosis that you have. Of course, there are guidelines in doing that. Hindi po lahat ng PUI ay applicable to, hindi rin lahat ng mga pasyente ay applicable to. So we made a very good policy, and we made a very good study on who among our patients will be admitted in this particular ward, wherein PPEs may be conservatively considered. So ito po yung nakapagpababa ng mga cost ng pasyente, and of course 1% lang po ang nagiging critical eh. 1% lang nagiging severe. So 1% lang po ang problema. The other ay yung mga moderate and mild ay medyo kaya naman po ng mga provision. So all in all, if you would average this, hindi po ganun kaganda ang revenue sa COVID patient, but then we'll be able to get through, and ang dictum lang naman talaga ngayon is you may not earn much during pandemic, but at least you are sustainable enough to get through with the pandemic. Regarding our nurses, I think there's another question. We were able to hard with our nurses. Of course, we improve on our hazard pays by giving them at least 30% of their salary. Suppose they are earning 30,000, so you have another 10,000 for the hazard pays, etc. So depending on the duties they are giving to us. For as long as for every duty we are giving them the 30%. Pre-COVID, actually, we already have some problem employing many nurses. In fact, even in Manila, the constraint in provision of healthcare is on the availability of nurses. We try to analyze the exodus, and of course, there's only one reason on the exodus: to have a quality life. And as part of our mission, and actually part of our mission is to give quality of life, of course, that is good for a real healthcare worker. So in the Philippines, we did not do much on this. So what did we do? There are a lot of hospitals in abroad that is actually recruiting nurses in the Philippines. And so what I did is I talked with some of the hospitals abroad and some of the recruiter, and I asked them, what is your requirement for every nurses that you are hiring? So all they say is, for as long as the nurses are trained, they have the 2 years training, they have passed the exam of NCLEX, they have their CG, they have their IELTS, etc. They will hire the nurses. Okay, so as much as possible, there's a 100-bed hospital where they train, and the training must be good enough for them to handle the demand or the needed healthcare abroad. So what I did, okay, probably we can have an agreement that some of the nurses will be trained in our hospital, and we will certify them to be truly trained based on your requirement. And so you will have to give me the schedule of training. What are your requirements in terms of training? Where are you going to deploy the nurses? Are you going to deploy them in the operating room, in the ER, etc.? So there are set of requirements and skill provision and skill improvement that they are giving to me. So with this, I allow the nurses to go on training in our hospital, and hopefully, I told them, hopefully this particular agency or this particular hospital would hire you depending on their evaluation on your skills and other documentary requirement that you have. And of course, the other things that we would like to actually hindi mo pipigil to mga ito eh. Aalis at aalis to. And of course, it is their own right. Talaga namang kailangan nating tulungan itong mga kababayan natin. Pero although kulang tayo na nurses, for as long as they stay here, 2 or 3 years or whatever, and serving the Philippines, rather than go there after 1 year without any experience at all, we allow them to train in our hospital with the notion that we will help them or include them in our recommendatory procedure in the hospital abroad. So ito po yan. Although maraming ayaw din umalis. They enjoy the company in our hospital, they enjoy the culture, and some of them are actually have already came from abroad who decided to settle in the Philippines, and they are the one actually training the young ones. Yan lang po, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Elvis, for that. And because of the time constraint, I know that we still have a lot of questions that are unanswered, but we will post that in our Facebook, or we can also give you our contact details, especially with you, Ms. Edel. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our distinguished speakers for sharing their ideas, no, and on how to run this particular investment and management of their business prototypes. Let me just quote. Give you this quotation from Warren Buffett. On earning, never depend on a single income that make investment to create a second source. On spending, if you buy things you do not need, soon you will have to sell these things that you need. And on savings, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after savings. And now, because of that, I want to remind the PSPS members to stay behind because we'll be having a very short meeting. And I would like to turn over to our Vice President for the closing remarks, Dr. Richard Jack Pascual.
You all heard our speakers. It's not only the daily work of saving lives, not the daily grind of doing our rounds, tending our clinics, or teaching our residents. Having an alternative source of income to save for our future and for our retirement is not a bad idea. I hope our speakers inspired us all to invest some of our time and be an entrepreneur. And as we heard from them, their experience, life as we know it is not only confined to the phrase for the service of humanity. Good morning, colleagues, and to our speakers, to Ms. Edel Belleza, Dr. Russel Alegarbes, Dr. Dexter Aison, and Dr. Elvis Bedia. And of course, to our resourceful treasurer, Dr. Bong Tuazon. Thank you all for a very informative webinar today. Russell, in one of our trip to Ho Chi Minh, proposed investing in things that interest him, like collecting watches, and like Dexter with his chain of laundromat businesses. This is our final fourth webinar, aptly a tribute to Dr. June Resurrection. And if he can hear us, he would give us a toast for a job well done. Congratulations to our webinar team, Dr. Bong Tuazon, Dr. Edric Lim, Dr. Fawi Fausto, Dr. Mabel Moreno, Dr. Johan Guzman, and to all who helped make this event a success. And of course, to Calmo Septin for our ever-reliable partner in our society. And to all who attended to this webinar, my deep appreciation to all. Be safe, everyone, and have a very fruitful day.
Thank you for joining us this morning. All those who registered at our website will be receiving an email to the link for your certificate of attendance and CPD credits. You'll have to fill up the survey form in order to get your CPD credits. Thank you.